Hello, hello. Hello everyone, welcome to another live stream with me, 320 Sim Pilot. Great to see you all here. We are going to take this gorgeous 777-300ER from here in New Zealand, Auckland Airport, down to Christchurch. A very, very, very common route, I suppose you could say. There's lots of airplanes do this every day, but not usually 777s, but we're going to take it for a bit of a shorter hop. I couldn't quite fit in a flight from Sydney over, so I thought we better just do this instead. And I wanted an excuse to A, fly in New Zealand, and B, fly in this livery. Big fan of this livery. Again, any sort of 90s livery is always going to go down well with me. So yeah, we are sat here on the ramp, cold and dark. We'll do it as we got a bit of time. The flight's so short. It's about, I think about an hour and a half, but so it's not, it's not the shortest flight in the world, but it just means that we're going to have a bit of time to chat before we can set up the plane from cold and dark, which is not something you do very often on an airplane like this. 1 hour 15, I think the flight will be. But yeah, so it's going to be a chance for us to really dig into the PMDG 777 and see what we think of it. I don't think we've streamed this airplane. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong on that, but I don't think we did. Anyway, it's something that certainly I wanted to stream and wanted to fly today, so that's where we are. Great to see you all here on a Sunday evening. It's been a long time since we've done a stream on a Sunday. It used to be a mainstay of the channel, Sunday afternoon streams. So thank you all for joining us, and yeah, I hope it's a convenient time for you. I'm looking forward to the flight and to chat with you all. It's good to see you, Balint at all. Spencer says first time catching a 320 Sim Pilot live stream. Am I going to use Flight Simulator 2020 or 2024? This is 2020. The PMDG 777 is not available yet in Flight Simulator 2024. I'm also having a bit of a headache with 2024, so I'm quite happy to be back in 2020 just for streaming, just for stability reasons. Having said that, there's no guarantees. Stability is a fleeting thing in flight simulators, it seems, these days. So yeah, we shall see. But yeah, good to see you. Igloo is actually around as well. Excellent. Good to see you, Igloo. Thanks for joining us. And Epaulette, Lights, George Lumpkin, great to have you as well. Yeah, just a nice, relaxing Sunday afternoon, exactly, on a cold winter's evening if you're in the Northern Hemisphere anyway. Jake Point, good to see you. Jake Point has entertainment for the pre-flight entertainment for flight tomorrow, flying out to Slovakia. Excellent. Enjoy that. It's a good time of year to go. I thought it'd be very, very nice, very fresh, but very nice. Mr. Banana, good to see you. Again, Crash Ed, great to see you as well. Atul. And Hayden, great to see you. Thanks for coming along. Good to see you again. Troll says, my Sundays just got better. I always learn something from your videos. Love your channel. Best flight sim channel on YouTube. That's very, very kind. Thank you so much for saying so. I do really appreciate it, especially when we have so many great channels on YouTube. So it's yeah, it's great to be considered a part of it. So yeah, thank you so much for coming along. Right, yes, Hayden, if you are watching and enjoying, do please leave a like. Makes a big difference to the channel, especially if you're going to pop in and out, which of course I understand. My videos are quite long usually. I'm sure it will take us a fair while to put this all together. Right, who else? I'm sorry, there's loads of people who have joined the chat today, so I'm a little bit behind. We are also live on Twitch, so thank you for joining us on Twitch. Dougal's over on Twitch, thank you for being there and moderating. Ebos, good to see you, Ebos, again. I hope you're doing very well. And we've got JLab and Rangers. This is Flight Simulator 2020 Rangers, Minecraft, and Ebos. Good to see you all over on there. Also on YouTube, we've got Wallace. Good morning to you, Wallace. Andy H1302, thanks for coming along and moderating. Really appreciate it. Cooking Sunday dinner. Yes, enjoy that. Don't let me distract you from your Sunday dinner. Definitely not to be done. You've got to be there for that. So you can indeed fly along Skypilot XSX. This is not on the server, this is on VATSIM, so you need to be able to use VATSIM to fly along with me on this flight today. So this is where we would have real air traffic controllers, or not real, but we'd have real people air traffic controlling. Some of them are real world air traffic controllers, but yeah, that's something to do if you are VATSIM prepared, as it were. Aaron, good evening. Tom Nichols, Paul, hi from the UK in the middle. Excellent, good to see you. I hope it's doing well up there. Probably a bit, it is a bit fresh in the UK. So I'm sure wherever you are in the UK, it's been a bit cold recently. But yeah, great to have you. Right. Rakan says, yes, we haven't streamed the 777 before on the channel. Excited to see the similarities between 777 and 787 and your opinions too. Yes. So for those of you, I know I know that not everyone follows my channel closely and won't be aware that although I'm still called 320 Sim Pilot, I now fly a Boeing and I fly the 787, the sister ship, as it were, of the 777-300ER. So that is what I do as my day job in the real world, and I fly long haul around the world, which is a very different job to what I was doing on the A320, but it is still flying aeroplanes, and in many ways it's very similar, but the way you manage your life is very different. But the Boeing, the more I spend on the Boeing, the more time I spend on it, the more I realize it is a bit of a different beast to the Airbus. It's not sort of shocking. It's not too difficult in terms of just being safe and operating it, but when you want to try and finesse things, it's where things get really different, and it's interesting to see. And I am still a big fan of Airbus's automation management and control, which is the biggest difference between the two, really. The 787 also, it basically flies like an Airbus, whereas the 777 I think is less so, although it is still fly-by-wire. So remember, this is a fly-by-wire aeroplane, although it is not as completely controlled like the 787 is. It is a little more in between the two, is my understanding of the 777. I've got lots of friends who fly the 777, so I've spoken to them at length before the PMDG one came out, which is when I ran those tutorial videos about it. So yeah, it's a bit of a beast. There's no way around it. So yeah, moving around, we'll just have a quick look at the outside, because again, we haven't streamed it, so I wanted to take some time on it. Big engines, largest engines, the GE90, the only engine available on the 777-300ER. The 777-300 is a second generation 777. So the 777-200 and 300 are considered classics. This is part of the second generation, so this goes with the 300ER and the long range versions and so on, where they fiddled with the wingtips and things like that. So the freighter version as well would come under this newer generation of 777. And then the third generation is coming. That's the of course, the 777X, slightly delayed, or slightly is a relative term, but that is delayed right now. But that's on the way, and of course, the 787 also stepped in as a sort of next generation, because it is in many ways, and it shares a type rating. So I'm qualified to fly both of them, despite only operating one in my day-to-day. That's not to say you would jump between them, but yeah. There you go. Now look at that. I did close the sunshades in there, and they look absolutely fantastic. And as you move the camera around, the different sheens and reflections and fingerprints on the sunshade. Look at that. That's really, really good. I've never seen that before. Yeah, some impressive things on this PMDG. One of my favourites is the frame rate. It's so light on the computer compared to some other complex add-ons, and this is a complex add-on with lots going on in it. So yeah, very, very happy with that. Lauren V2500, thanks for coming along. Lauren B says, I'm still amazed I have colleagues who leave the real centre to come home and work the virtual centre. Yeah, fantastic. Love the enthusiasm. Why not? 4 Prawns, thank you so much. That's incredibly generous tip, 4 Prawns, who supported the channel so much. 4 Prawns says, many thanks for your great streams and vids. I hope this can go towards in-flight rations for you, and most importantly, the FO. 4 Prawns, thank you so much for $67.14. I imagine that's a converted thing, because Streamlabs always does that, but that's incredibly generous. Thank you so much for supporting the channel so much as you have over the years, and thank you for still being here, and thank you for being part of it. But yeah, I don't really know what to say to that. That's very generous. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed the video. And the FO is around. The FO, which is my cat, for those of you who don't know her, she is often joining us on stream. She might join us today. Because it's so cold, she might be looking for someone to sit on, but we shall see. We'll see if we can get her to join in. Igloo Foo says, if your airline said tomorrow we want to move you to the 777, would you be able to move the next day, or would it require familiarity course rating? It would require a little course, basically, because it is a different airplane, so you'd need to do a little course and a little bit of training. It's not a full rating, but it is a very, very short course. A few sims, a few bits of maybe a few sectors actual flying, and then that's it. Yeah. There we go. But the key thing, and the reason they share their rating, is that the 777 and the 787 share all the memory items. So when you're talking about engine failures and so on, the the immediate actions are the same, and it's also the same for the maneuvers. So wind shear, GPWS, so when you get a pull-up boarding, things like that. And these are time-critical maneuvers that you have to get right immediately, first try, go-arounds even. All of these things are the same. Bulk landings, they're the same. Rejected takeoff, it's the same. And these are the big things that you get assessed on in your simulator checks, as well as obviously your management and so on. But the management style, of how to handle a jet airliner in a failure scenario, or when things are going wrong, that is very transferable. That's a skill you can learn on the 320 and take it onto the 777, and it's basically the same. The only difference would be, different numbers involved, and also you might be a lot further away from alternates and so on the long haul flight. But that's just a different situation to be in. The stuff you need, the quick, are they called skill based or rule based? There's different terms for these things. Human factors gurus will know what I'm talking about, and human factors is obviously a big topic in aviation. But you have a lot of these a lot of these immediate responses are the same, and that's the crucial thing that allows you to fly both airplanes. And it's why the Airbus families all share type ratings as well, because it's the same. If you needed to do a pull-up, you'd do the same things, and that's important, isn't it? Right, let's finally jump in. I've whizzed the camera around the outside enough. Onto the flight deck. It's cold and dark, something you don't see often on a heavy jet like this, but that is what we have today. I've left the sunshades up. This is a common thing to do because these planes will sit in the sun for a little bit longer than a short-haul airplane, so it's quite common to just put all the sunshades out and leave them like this, and the engineers will be in here working most likely anyway. Now, I am trying to monitor both chats, but I can only apologise. My streaming software seems to be doing okay today, but it might be missing out Twitch a little bit. Ebos says, if memory serves, the 777 was the first fully CAD designed civil Boeing. Yes, I believe it is. Yep, absolutely. So it's famous for being the first one designed on the computer. I mean, you can sort of see it was designed on a computer, because I've always said about the 777, it's pretty hard to pick a feature of it to describe. If someone said, what does a 777 look like? Give me a description. It looks like an airplane. I mean, the only thing I can think of is the 3 wheels, and the 350 now has that, so it's hard. It doesn't have winglets, it's not got 4 engines, it's not got 3 engines, it's not got 2 floors, it's it's just an airplane. That is what airplanes are now, and subsequently have become all very, very similar. You can see that 787 over there for comparison. By the way, that looks like a shorter 787. It's very hard to tell the 787s apart in terms of length, but you can see the size difference there. Obviously, it's a bit further away, but the 787 is a slightly narrower fuselage, but it's weirdly a very similar wingspan, and that's because the wings have to be the same sort of. They have to be pretty wide for efficiency reasons. So airlines have designed manufacturers put their airplanes to be in that efficiency bracket once they figured that out, and you end up with the same wingspan on your 787 and your 777. So the 787-8 is a very short airplane with a very wide wingspan. It's ridiculous. It looks like a glider. It makes it a very slippery airplane in the descent. But yeah, so you can see the differences. They're both chunky airplanes. The other thing about the 787 is, so it's 1 seat narrower. If you're going to really cram your 777 with seats, you can fit 1 more in. So you can have 9 across on the 78. You can have 10 across on the 777 if you really want to squeeze the seats in. You can also see straight away how low the 787 sits. It is really, really short by comparison. So that is a big difference of it. I mean, you can see here the engines are right down on the ground, and it's also missing its wheels. The 787 was designed to be efficient. It wants to be efficient. It wants to go a long way. So you don't want to have big wheels sitting in there. You don't need them. It's not doing lots of takeoffs, landings. It's doing long, ultra long haul flights. But you can see the size of the wings for the size of the airplane. They are just huge. But yeah, even the nose. Look how low down it is. When I first sat in the 787 flight deck, it didn't feel high at all. In fact, it felt pretty much the same as the 320. I know it is higher than the 320, but it is not much. It's not a noticeable amount. Whereas you look at the 777-300, if you walk under a 777, you can't touch it. You won't reach the bottom of that fuselage. Whereas the 787, you sort of have to stoop under it. That's the difference. Yeah, big difference. And you can see how extended that nose gear is, which is quite common. So PMDG have got that right. Yeah. I don't know why. Boeing moved from tall airplane with a triple to short, but that's what they did. One funny thing, if it's still rabbiting on here, but one funny thing about the wheel design, which not many people realise, is that there's a load bearing issue with runways, and what that means is you build your ground to withstand a certain amount of strength, but that strength is put through certain places, right? So the 777 has 2 wheels at the front, and then it's got 6, so it's got 14 wheels, doesn't it? Whereas the 787 has 8 plus 2, so it's only got 10 wheels. It's missing 4 wheels. The problem is this airplane here, this 787, if this is a -9, it will have the same weight as the 777-200 originally did, and that launched with 14 wheels. This only has 10. And that's a bit of a problem for certain airports. If they have a runway that they want to look after, or that they have put a bearing restriction on, you can't actually take the 787 in there. It's very rare, but there are airports out there. Somewhere that deals with high temperatures, somewhere that has an older surface that they want to resurface, things like that, or one that's wearing and they want to look after it, then the 787 can be an issue because it's actually really heavy for how many wheels it has. You know, this is the same number of wheels as a 767, but it is a significantly bigger aeroplane and heavier. So yeah, whereas the 777 doesn't have that issue because it spreads the weight out more evenly on its extra wheels. So there you go. Tiny bit of trivia for you there. Atul says, what do you prefer now, the A320 or 78 for daily flying? I love the Airbus automation management, but the 787 is a long-haul airplane, very, very comfortable to be on. I would, you know, if I could have a job flying the 787 around short and long haul, that would be fantastic. I do like it a lot. It's just a very lovely thing to be on all day. However, I would definitely take the seats out of the A320 and put them in, and probably the side stick as well, because the yoke is just sits there. I know that's a controversial thing to say, but that's what you get if you came from an Airbus to a Boeing. A Boeing pilot going to the Airbus would probably say the opposite. Right, let us get it powered up. So we're going to use the checklist for this because you would in the real life. We're going to do the electrical power up from the checklist. Because, like I say, these long-haul airplanes don't get powered down very often. You're not likely to find it like this, but we have, so that's what we're going to do. Battery switch needs to go on. So we go to our electrical panel, battery on. You'll see not much come to life, but a few things will. Then we are going to do tick C1 and C2 primary pump switches off. Now, this is the difference from the 787. The hydraulic systems are very different between the two. The 787 is an electric aeroplane in most senses, and it's a great thing about it, I think. 777 is a little more old school. It's very redundant, but it is still a little old school, but it has a more complex hydraulic system. So C1 and C2 primary pump switch is off. Let's get this right. These are the primary. This is the C1 and C2. These are off. These are our demand pumps. Now, these use air. I don't fully understand how that works, but that's what they have set up. I need to thank Four Prawns again for that donation, by the way. Right. Demand pump selectors off. So demand is down here. Now, a demand pump comes on when the hydraulic system senses a strain on it. So these will then pop on if they think it needs extra boosting. That's what the auto position is. So they'll tend to be off, but then at certain moments, such as lowering landing gear, moving flaps, or just before touchdown, these will automatically come on. And you can actually hear that in the PMDG. They did model it underneath. It's great. So those are all off. Wiper selectors off, which is a classic, off and off. Landing gear lever down, it's down, nice and small. This is the, I think this was the first Boeing to move to just a small switch lever instead of having the silly massive lever up, down, off, depressurized thing. But this is more of an Airbus style. Alternate flap selector off. Alternate flaps are a feature I love. It allows you to run out the flaps using electrical systems if you need to. Bus tie switches to auto. Let's have a look. Does this have the highlighting feature? It does indeed. Very good. Bus tie auto. Not something we're going to touch. If external power is desired, illuminated. So external power is in a different position on this airplane, but primary external power and secondary external power are not illuminated. I don't actually know how you would do that in the PMDG without going into here, which doesn't work because we haven't got enough electrical power. I don't think you can do it on here as our flight plan. So we better do it on the APU. So we're not doing that. Primary external power, available light, it's not illuminated. No. If APU power desired, push verify on. APU gen is on. APU selector start, then on. Start, and then on. Good. Next is the preliminary pre-flight procedure. This is a short procedure that we will run before we go into our flows. Right, so we're just waiting for that APU to spring to life now. I have actually got a shortcut here, I think, for the drone. There we go. Now, does the 777 have a little flap that pops up? The 787 does. That's the other feature, although good luck getting anyone to care if you're describing the 777, is this strange flat sort of exhaust for the APU. It makes a lot of sense to me. Why wouldn't you have a more streamlined tail? And it looks completely streamlined. and exhaust out the side. I think it's quite a neat design actually, but it's just something they gave up on. They obviously didn't think it was worth it. I don't know why, but yeah, 787 doesn't use it. Sam says, if you could, would you switch to the 350 or stick with the 787? I like the air on the 787. I'd love to fly a 350. I think the 350, you know, it's going to have the most advanced setup in terms of operation. I think it'd be very, very nice to operate and very comfortable. But the 787 has that beautiful air. The air system is great. For Microsoft Flight Simulator, I like the 787. I use the Horizon, the Kuro mods for it. I think they're both good. The 787-10 does not have a triple bogey. No, the 787-10 has exactly the same as that one over there. It's just 4 wheels each. Yeah, even the Dash 10. So you're looking at almost 300 tons going through those 8 main wheels. Jay Luss says, speaking of airplane design, I'm trying to optimize a wing model and an engine for uni during the stream. Neither is going particularly well right now. Well, maybe you can get some inspiration, but yeah, I hope we're not distracting you too much. Right, into the flight deck. APU's alive. APU gen is now on. Frame rate's tanking. So that should have given us power, which has given us all our other warning lights. I think that's worked. Right, just running through the chat briefly. I've missed out a little bit, so I can only apologise. But yeah, I will try. Do bring questions into the cruise, including talking about the Jeju Air incident. But someone's asked here. I read that the 737 that crashed in Korea, obviously very sadly, and the last 4 minutes of cockpit recorder were missing. How is that possible? Isn't that supposed to be so redundantly connected that it always works? Yeah, I believe there is a way that in the 737 it could end up disconnected or run out of power, especially given certain engine and electrical faults. So I believe there is a way that could have happened, which seems to be what happened there. Iglefu says, my dad was a designer. Iglefu, what was your dad a designer on? Sorry, I've missed the chat, so we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that in the cruise, I think. Oh, there you go. Hold the menu button on the right F&C for power on. Well, we've got it now, so let's brighten them up. There we go. And unbelievably, all of the screens were turned off. Now, I don't know who would do that. There we go. They're not off. Yeah, I was going to say, you wouldn't turn them off. They're just coming to life. Nice and slowly. Mastermind says, why is the 777 always cruising so low? The 777 is the wing is just not as efficient as some modern airplanes. So I know it looks lovely, but it's a heavy, big airplane, and the wing is just a bit of an older design, so it can't climb straight up to the high levels. It will cruise high by the end of its flight, but it will start the flight lower down. Carries a lot of weight, it has a lot of space, a lot of power, so that means it can take off with very high weights, carrying lots of fuel, lots of passengers, lots of cargo, which is great, but it does mean that it can't then go straight up to its top cruising levels. 787 as an amazing wing. The wing on the 78 is so good, and as we talked about, it's also quite big for the airplane, so that allows it to go straight up to the high levels, which is a nice feature certainly. 397LM says 350-1000 is a dream to fly. Yeah, I bet it is. They don't look like a dream to land, I've got to say, but they do look like a dream to fly. And I think the automation on the flight deck must be fantastic. Right, let us now carry on with the procedure. Airplane's powered up, so we'll have the ADIRA switch off for 30 seconds, then on. So let's move back to our overhead panel. Right, to a different position on this airplane. That's right, they don't have the rotary switch, do they? It's just a button. There we go, on. I quite like that, really. On bat extinguished, it is, so that's getting electrical power. Off light extinguished, it is on. Status display, check, verify expected messages. So we'll go to systems, we'll put it into, the lower page, I think in the middle is going to be good for us. And then I want to go to What's that? There we go. TCAS. Well, that's fine. We expect that to work. Overhead maintenance panel, guards closed. Verify lights are out. Yes, cargo temperature selection is not required today. That's important, that one. You might be carrying sort of live cargo, or you might be carrying perishable goods. So you might have to set the cargo temperature to nice and cool. Where is that on this airplane? Might not be fitted. Not all airplanes have it as a feature. The airline would have to pay for it. Cargo temp select. There you go. Airflow, bulk. So you can set the flow, certainly. So if you have live cargo in there, you might put a high flow on, things like that, which you wouldn't otherwise bother with. Parking brake as needed. Let's check it is on. It's not, so that's not good. Parking brake on. CD pre-flight complete. CD pre-flight procedure. We need to complete that, so we'll just say that's done. And next is for the first officer, which is to go through all of the panels. Now that's interesting, they've labelled it as first officer. 111 items. So we'll go through the overhead panels now before we set up the rest of the airplane. Right, so we've got the wipers off, we've got all the generators on, we're on the APU, and I'll turn on the power in the cabin. Thrust asymmetry compensation. This is TAC. This is used if there's an engine failure on takeoff. Very important. But it is not... It's famously, I don't think it's actually activated on any of the engine failures that have happened so far. It may have done, but yeah, you have to train assuming the system's broken. So pilots would practice engine failures without this. The 787, it's built into the flight control, so it's not such an issue. So yeah, that's what it's there for. Adiru is on. Then we're going to make sure that we have lights off. That's fine. Master switch is fine as well. Passenger signs, leave those off. No smoking on. We're going to leave the pumps all off and off. Then we're going to have the window heat on, and we're going to arm the emergency exit lights. Passenger oxygen off. Do not turn it on. And voice recorder into auto. Over here we have cargo fire. We don't want to arm it. We don't want to discharge it. We're going to leave it alone. And we're going to leave the EECs in normal mode. Auto start's definitely going to be on and norm. Again, lots of these buttons missing from the 787. There's no auto start. It's just going to auto start anyway. And then I don't think there's an auto start. Maybe there is. And then we've got the fuel jettison off, off, off. Fuel pumps all off for now. You can see the left forward pump is currently on, even though we haven't pressed it on. But it will be on just to power that, to provide fuel for that APU. Go to the fuel page, you'll see it. There it is, running anyway. Good. Anti-ice can all be an auto, a great feature. I do love the whole auto anti-ice. I don't know if the 350 has that as well, but I hope it does. I hope it does indeed. Max flight level for fully loaded 777-300 is around 31.5. That's very low. Yeah, it would depend on temperature and so on, but yeah, it is indeed low. Jose is en route to TJSJ in the Airbus A400. Excellent. Yeah, that is a cool plane. That is a cool plane. Right, wipers off. We got the bleed air on. This system is very different. We don't have a bleed air on the 787, obviously, but we do have cabin air compressors instead. Yeah, all in on, all in auto. Nothing to do up there. Great. Moving down, we have our EFIS control. I'm going to have the auto throttle arms, which is armed. I'm going to have the autopilot disengage bar in. We're going to take off southerly, so I can spin that round to a southerly heading. Although I don't actually know the runway. I will maybe check that before I start setting things. We've flown out of Auckland once before because I've got the scenery. You can see I've got a really nice scenery here, so I need to check what that is. We'll set the speeds up later. The V2 speed goes in later. Same for the stop altitude. And you can turn the flight registers on if you fancy at this point. Good. EFIS control done. Right. The airplane's still aligning the IRSs, so that's why we haven't got any artificial horizon yet. Heaters are going to leave. Auto display brightness will leave alone. It's all on in a decent position. Gear is down. We haven't got anything inhibited or override. This is actually, these buttons are all gone on the 787. They're tucked into the radio panel, which is a really nice radio panel on the 78. Auto brake can go to RTO. Next, I'm going to go to the checklists, and I'm going to go to resets and just reset everything, so it all is starting from scratch. Then you have the normal menu. It would automatically go to the pre-flight. It should do anyway. Yep, there it is. Good. And then you'd also, if it worked, go and connect it to your company ACARS. But I haven't set this up. No. So I'm going to leave that alone. And then we don't have any controllers on today anyway, which I would expect because it's very, very early morning in New Zealand. Moving down, FMSs are to come. I don't actually know what these panels are. There's some brightness controls, ICAS event record and display control. Yep, won't worry about those. Thrust levers are at idle, flap lever is up, and the fuel controls are in cutoff. Good, and you're going to make sure again you do not want the alternate flaps to be armed or running, so that's in the off position. Trim to come later. Parking brake on. Third FMC just left there alone. Radio set. Trims 0, please. 0. Excellent. Right. That's all good. Let's go to our FMS and check that. We would, of course, check our oxygen as well. That's a funny oxygen mask. Old school one. Good. So let's first of all go to FS actions. Payload. Can I get this to load in from SimBrief? Can someone help me here? It doesn't seem to be interested in loading in anything from SimBrief, and I don't quite understand why. I'm so sorry, I've missed a whole load of the chat here. So yeah, I will do that more as we go along. Mastermind says, so it's just really odd that the 777 always cruise so low. I know that it's heavy, but let's say, for example, A350 is a huge aircraft, but able to cruise high fast. Yes, but the A350 has a more advanced wing. It's the wing design that's changed here. I don't know if the 777X will be able to go higher, faster. Use EFB first. You can load later on the init. What do I need to do on the EFB? I mean, I've done the data. It's got the flight plan. I don't know what to do. So we may just have to do it ourselves. Oh, it's in pounds as well. Oh, no. Oh, no. No. Let's just change that around. Great thing about PMDG is they give you so many options here. It's absolutely amazing. The only problem is finding it ever is a bit of a challenge. And it's, I think, does it save per livery? Okay, it's not in there. Must be in aircraft. Kilograms, there we go. That is absolutely required. I won't manage otherwise. Right, so, okay, thank you. Tablet first, init. Tablet first. Done request data. Yeah, so during init there'll be an option. Okay, and will that load in my weights? Let's find out. Enter inertial position, doesn't know where we are. So pause init, so this is how we would start, and GPS position is very close to the last position, which is in the right place. And we are in NZAA. And that is correct. Looks good. Hey, it did work. Thank you very much. There we go. And then we can set payload, set fuel. Thank you. There we go. You all knew. I was curious. I was thinking, why can't I see the option anyway? I'm sure it does this. So we're going to set the payload. We're going to set the fuel. We're going to do it exactly at 21.3 because I think weather looks nice in down in Christchurch. Thank you so much, chat, for that. I do really appreciate it. Right, Christchurch weather. I have got that here. Overcast 28. Oh, it's lovely. Yeah, all looks good down there. SimRief block fuel sets. 21.3 tons. That's nothing. I mean, that's just nothing for 777. We're going to be so light for takeoff. And there's our route. Auckland, Christchurch as New Zealand 543. And then if you go to the next page, you'll see that it's not actually there. Uplink ready. Thank you. And it's done the performance as well. Interesting. Loading in. Can be quite slow, especially on longer flights. David says 777X should have the same cruise characteristics as 787. It should be able to go to 340 plus right after takeoff. It'd be interesting to see if it does. Yeah, it will be heavier, but it has got a nice new wing. So Activate, execute. There's our route. Going out via IGBAT. Next is Perfinit. And now we need to go to our 0 fuel weight. It doesn't know automatically, does it? It does. There we go. 207.8, which I think is right. Yes, it is. Cruising at 380. Actually, flight plan was a 340, but we'll be able to get 38, no trouble. Cosnex 102. Reserved to 10.1. Accept. Clever. Yeah, perfect. Step size RVSM. Yep, super. Saves us the trouble. Excellent. Thrust limit page. Well, we need to run our own performance before we do that. Do they have a performance calculator in here? I don't think it does, actually. Oh, we might have to go to SimBrief for that, which we can do on here now, can't we? SimBrief by Navigraph. They've really stepped up. I love having it integrated. Performance. Boeing 777. I mean, I can take a guess. We could put in almost anything. The airplane is going to have no trouble getting off the ground here. NZAA is therefore going to be 23 for departure today. And we're going to be taking off at 230 tons. Ultimate flaps, ultimate thrust, auto bleed, auto anti-ice. Southerly winds. Good, 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 good. Right. It does have its own app on the tablet. I'm not very good at this tablet. I'm improving that very, very well now. Where is it? Oh, that's right. It's here, isn't it? Performance tool. And there's ground operations. I knew there was. I knew all this. I don't know why. I've made a video about this. Oh, well, let's. Yeah. Would it connect the jetty if I did that? We won't spend too long doing this because I appreciate we are actually supposed to be ready to go. Yeah, no, it's not real. It's because I changed stand after connecting to the VATSIM. So there you go. You can do it on here. Runway 23. It gets all that. Import from aircraft. Import weather. I'll be curious to see if they come up with different numbers now. Actually, that's all good. It's got the right weight in pounds. So this reckons flap 5. Yeah, of course we don't need any flap. 149, 153, 158. Flap 5, 151, 152, 161. So slightly higher speeds here on the SimBrief numbers, but not far off each other. DTO2 54, DTO2 45. So this one's using more thrust. Interesting. Oh well, we'll go with PMDG's numbers. I think they know what they're doing. Doom Playstyle says, "Hey, been a long time. Fan." Thank you very much. I finally started my FCOM and sim training recently, and it's a dream. Fantastic, excellent, enjoy that, amazing, great to hear. And I apologise everyone for the struggle for watching me use these tablets. But anyway, there we go. So let's get that performance in. So thrust limit. So there's 2 D rates here. Not all airlines use the double D rate on the 777, but there you go. Rating is takeoff 2. That's a 20% D rate. So we'll do a 20% D rate on the takeoff thrust. So we've chopped 20% off the engine thrust, just to start with. That also automatically gave us climb 2, which is fine today. That means our climb thrust is also derated. It's lower than it would be otherwise. But that's also fine for today. Next, we have a cell temperature up here. It's 13 degrees outside. Cell temperature 45 is absolutely fine. 45 in. So DTO2 temperature 45 degrees. So we're also telling it the temperature is higher outside, so it's even more derated. This is about as much of a derate as you'll ever get out of this airplane. On the takeoff page then, and this is got to be done very carefully. On the 787, this EFB would actually send it straight across, but this is obviously a separate sort of tablet versus the inbuilt electronic flight bag on the 787. Flaps 5, 149, 153. So flaps 5, 149, 150. Invalid entry. There you go. That's why you got to do it right. Why is that invalid? It wants these. Let me just get this right. What are we missing here? Doesn't have the runway in it. That's why. We need to tell it the runway. 23 left, of course. And we are going to take off via... we're going via Igbat from runway 23. So that's 05. So let's find an Igbat departure. Oh, it's via Igbat. That's going to be a good one for getting out of here. Oh, that didn't work. No. We want runway 23. 23, please. And we are certainly going south. What did it say? What did that route say? Avnar, 1 Quebec. There we go. Ah, that's the wrong runway. So that hopefully it will be an alternative Avnar. Nope. Because it's obviously next to the airport. Oh, this is disappointing. I thought this would be a bit easier than this. Come on, we're looking for southwest. This is always the hardest part of simming. Is that this is done for you. And actually, no. In the real world, it's just like this. You have to constantly filter through charts. You'll know your departure point. What's annoying about this one is that the departure point isn't actually the name of the SID. It's just further down the list. So that does take us to Igbat. But that doesn't. Is that going to work for us? Can A, B, C, and D? Yeah. Speed restrictions, fine. I think we could do that one. I prefer the display layout of the 787 personally, but that's only because I haven't flown the A350. The A350, I'm sure it's amazing. What I like about the 787 is the PFD is just massive, and that's my favourite instrument, right? That's what everything's based around. So I like how big and clear it is. On the 350, obviously, you have much bigger charts sort of built into the front of the airplane, which I can see being a bit of there. Well, I don't know. It must work. I'm sure it works very well. I'm sure a 350 pilot would say it's great. But yeah, I do like the 787 having the big PFD. I think we're going with this one. We're going with a Levra 2 Papa. Pin, thank you. We're going to take off, head out, left turn, Levra, and then continue down to Igbat. And there's no stop altitude on there, no altitude restriction. There are some speed restrictions for CD, minimum 170, which is absolutely fine. So that is the Levra 2 Papa. Good, we got there. Levra 2 Papa. Now if I go to just like any airplane, plan, zoom out. There's Levra. We're going via Igbat, so I'm going to select Igbat as the transition. Execute. Good. Right, now we should have done that first. But this now, on our takeoff ref page, allows us to fill in the rest. So we've still got, and let's just make sure we've done it all. Still got 45 degrees, takeoff 2, flaps 5, and then our speeds are going to be 149, 153, 158. 149, 153, 158. They've transferred straight across from the numbers stored. CG 29.14. 29, trim 4.75. That is to come slightly later. Good. I don't actually know if the stabilizer is electric or hydraulic. I'm assuming it's hydraulic on the 777, so I don't think it will run if we tried to run it now, but I can change my mind on that in a moment when I try it out. Yeah, so I'm trying to run the trim and it doesn't work, even though I'm moving the switches. On the 787 it would move because it's electric, so you can actually set the trim straight away. You don't want to do that on stand ideally because A, it's not the procedure, and B, the stabilizer, if there's anyone working around it, or there could be a catering truck might have had a trouble with its steering and be sitting underneath it or something. You don't move stuff until you're sure it's all clear. But it does work because it's just running on electric motors, which is a great feature. Richard V, good to see you. Thanks for coming along. Richard V, a long-time member of the channel. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you're doing very well. Ivan says A350 cockpit comfort is second to none. I could imagine that is true. Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. Aside from the air, that's the one thing I've got. It's one thing the 787 has, definitely. Lauren V says, none of this SID sifting in America when you file the SID. Yes, in America it is a little more straightforward as well. Good. So that is the departure and the performance. We've looked at the routing. In terms of taxiways, this aeroplane doesn't have the charts on here. The 787, you obviously get your charts here. So let's finish up with our performance. 158 V2. We've got DTO2, 45 degrees, Toga. So let's arm LNAV and VNAV for that departure. And we're going to have a V2 of 158, very low. For a flat 5 takeoff in a 777-300, these are the low numbers. The 777 does tend to have higher flap settings than the 78 as well. The 78 over there will take off with, oh, you can't see it, but it will take off with as little flap as possible, usually only 5 degrees for almost any runway, any reasonable length runway. Good, and LNAV, VNAV, armed, and we're going to stop. We'll leave 10,000 in to start with, why not? And the heading, it is slightly further round. There we go. There's the heading for departure. Great. Great. Let's put that to checklist. Okay, so finishing up. We've done our procedure here. We've completed the CDU pre-flights, I believe. Let's just check on page 2. Not to worry about that. We'll go with 1500 acceleration. That's what it planned. Yeah, great. So let's just think through. We've done a knit ref, done the performance. The 787 comes with a lovely text box here in green that says it's complete, which is a really nice feeling. You know you've done it all, which this plane does not bother with. We've done the departure, and we've got a routing on our map display. Ah, that's interesting. I've managed to... Now, these screens are different, and this is the big difference between the two. The 777 and the 78 is the screens. Honestly, if you're doing a course between the two, I think the screens would be about most of the course. So I want the lower center. I want that to be the checklist. I want the left inboard, which is this screen, as a nav display. No. What's going on? Engine display. How have I done this? There we go. That's the dial. Yeah, the 787, you can move these screens around freely. It's very, very, very good system. And you can pop CDUs up here. You can have checklists down here, wherever you fancy. But this is a slightly more old school way, like we said. Apologies, I've missed loads of chat there. But yeah, inboard display set to ICAS. Yeah, there we go. So 787, like I say, you can actually, both pilots have this control, and it's a better system. Boeing really did refine it and improve it, and I actually think it's fantastic what they did with the screens in the 787. 737 MAX looks the same, but it doesn't have the same functionality. Alex says, when you say the air is good on the 787, what do you mean? The 787 has, because of its composite fuselage, it can have a lower cabin altitude and a more humid cabin air. It doesn't cause the same issues. So instead of having a cabin altitude of 8,000 feet, the cabin altitude in the 787 is typically 5,000 to 6,000 feet. It doesn't sound like a big difference, but it is really, and it is more humid as well. So you don't come off as dry, and you do notice it. It is great. I don't come off as dry as I did on a day on the 320 versus a day on the 787. It's really amazing. Big fan of the air. And the reason is air on, well, two reasons. Like I say, it's the fuselage, so they designed it to withstand the higher pressure, and also because it's composite, it could. But older airplanes also had this lower cabin altitude, like the 747, but the 777, A330, A340, and we found that on our A380 flight as well. The A380 has a slightly higher cabin altitude than I realised. I don't know what the 350 is. It might be the same as the 787, but it will be bleed air on the 350. 787 air does not come from the engines, or what's called bleed air, where you take it out of a high pressure part of the engine and put it into the cabin. On the 78, it actually draws it in from the outside. There's compressors that constantly suck in as much air as they can, squeeze it and fit it into the cabin. It's a very similar system, but it's a key difference is that it's not inside the engine where there's, lots of different things going on. So it is very nice. Right. A350 has the same cabin altitude. There you go, but it does use bleed air. That's the difference with the 350. But it has that lower. I believe the fuselage is mostly composite on the A350 as well. Right. I think we're ready to go. So the first thing to do now is the pre-flight checklist. So oxygen tested 100%. Flight instruments, we've got heading 230 and the altimeter set to 29901. Is this a... It's a QNH airport. We'll take hectopascals. Thank you very much. 1017 it should be. No, that's Christchurch. Hold on. Yeah, 1013. Perfect. 1013 in Auckland. Parking brake. Set. Now, why doesn't it think it's set? There we go. Now it does. Pre-flight checks complete. Next one will be before start. So first of all, we're going to pressurize. We're going to check that everything is okay down below. So you'd speak to your ground crew. We don't have a tug yet. Maybe we'll get those connected. We've also got chocks. Let's get rid of those. So now I know. Now I've figured it out. Ground. No, none of those things. I don't want any vehicles arriving now. Oh dear. Is this still done through here? Menu, FS actions, ground operations. Let's get the tug connected, please. Let's remove that first. Chocks removed. Brake is set. I want to push back. Not sure why. We'll figure that one out in a second. So let's do the pressurization. So first of all, we want to make sure the hydraulic pumps are set. So this is going to be, and I'm just going to check this. I think we're going to... Here's the before start. I think we're going to turn them all on. Right, here we go. So, right electric demand pump selector auto. So right electric goes to auto. Fault light will go out. And if we look at our hydraulics page, this will reveal what's going on. Okay, so we are running, we've pressurized the right system. So some of the flight controls now would have come into line. Yes, you can see there. Outboard aileron not working, but inboard is. And one of our elevators is. It's good. This is what I like seeing. It's good to see these systems running authentically. GD says, nice to see you flying the PMDG 777 again. Now I need to find someone with your talent who flies the citation longitude. Yeah, sadly, I don't know much about it. Oh, no, I didn't want to do that. Please go back. Thank you. Good. Right, so this is, like I say, this is all weird because in the 787, you just turn them all to auto and it doesn't do anything anyway. It basically ignores you because the airplane's deciding what it wants to do. So, right pump done. Center 1 and 2 electrical primary on. So center 1, center 2 electrical primary. That's these two. They now go on. Fault lights will go out. You can hear the pressurization system change. And you'll hear this on the real airplane as well. You'll hear the fans turning on and off and all sorts at this point. Left electric demand pump selector auto. Auto. Center 1 and 2 air demand auto. So now we've got the entire hydraulic system pressurized. It's bizarre. It's a bizarre system. You might wonder, why is it like this? Why is it so complicated? Look at that screen. Lines going everywhere. The reason is, as you would imagine, it's redundancy. This airplane needs to work for 3 hours. You know, this is the big start of having twin-engine long-haul oceanic operations, and this airplane needed to be able to function on one engine with all its hydraulics, really. You couldn't have one engine fail and then have missing hydraulic parts because of the inefficiencies and so on. Just wouldn't be sensible. So that's why they've got it set like this. Generations before this would have had split control. So you see here we have our elevators like this. On the 747 they were worried about it, so you had a divide and you had different systems powering each panel, but they changed it for this generation. That's done, and now we can go to fuel pumps. So we've done our fuel, so that should be on, and we can turn on all of our fuel pumps. Do we have fuel in the center tank? I don't think we do. And we can see that if we go to fuel. No fuel in the center tanks, so we will not turn on the center pumps. We don't turn on the crossfeed either. Pumps, beacon. Then we're going to put the recall, which is engine shutdown. That's fine. I'm going to put the transponder. Should really be... We'll leave it on 2000, not 1, 2, 3, 4. And put the transponder to... Oh, it was already set to TR8. Anyway, we'll put it to transponder. There we go. Good. And then we go to our checklist. Oh yeah, and the trim. Trim's the last thing to set, which should now run 4.75. There it goes. That trimmable stabilizer at the back, working nicely. Good. Flight door closed and locked. I think it is anyway. Yep. Should run around the cabin later. NCP, we've got V2 of 158, 228 heading, and altitude 10,000 feet. Oh, it's track up again. I don't know why this keeps happening in my Boeings. Happened in our 7.3 the other day. Takeoff speeds, we have V1 149, VR 153, V2 158. CDU pre-flight is completed. Trims are 4.75 and 0 and 0. Taxi takeoff briefing completed. That is the before start checks complete. Next up is the before taxi, so we can now start the engines. That's good. I'm going to put that onto engine display. Secondary engine instruments, useful for the engine to start. And let's see if we can convince this thing to push us back. Menu, FS actions. No, it's not going to do it. This is going to be a bit of an issue. These checklists, Torre, are built into the PMDG 777. Fuji2, good to see you. Thanks for coming along. It is going to be a shift P day, I think. We've got rid of the chocks. I think it's because I moved the airplane off the stand. What gate number are we at? I don't know whose scenery this is, but it's really fantastic. I really like it. Let's get rid of some of these sunshades now. Now we're actually going. I love that sound. That sound is spot on to what these sound like. Oh, we can leave that one there. That's not an issue. Good. So, it's gate 5. Right, let's tell everyone. We'll just check there isn't the controller. Nope. And we want 1228, don't we? 1228. Makes me immediately miss the 787 one where you can just type it in. The 787 radio panel is fantastic. Auckland ground. New Zealand 543, pushing back stand 5. Right, shift B. Let's go. Brake released. And Janya says, I've never got the pushback in the FMC to work. I'm pretty sure I did, because I remember choosing it. Oh, look, there's a colleague over there. That's cool. Epiolet says, as a pilot, are there any tips you have for getting a chat with the pilots in the flight deck? Just speak to the cabin crew. It's usually better after the flight than before the flight, because everyone's busy before, but afterwards there'll be usually more time. Not always. Not always. Right, who's down here with us? Got a United coming along with us. And excellent, there's a Speedbird. Although they don't have a flight plan. And let's get our drone ready. Which camera view? I love it. PMDG, thank you for doing the camera views like this. They're great. And look at this, all the flight controls do work during the pushback. That's probably a good one for engine start, isn't it? Tara says, I like that all black livery for New Zealand. Have you seen it? Yes, it's very popular. Oh, they're not this one, but they have a plane that's completely black, don't they? Yes. We better stop pushing back shortly before we have issues, and we better set the brake.
Auckland traffic, number 2 Golf has
there we go.
And started from Kilo.
Right, pushback complete. There goes the tug, and now clears for engine start. 777-300, can we start both engines at once? That is a great question that I wish I'd looked up before the flight. There's only certain airplanes, 777s, that can do both engines at once. I don't think this one can, so we're going to go start. and it's an auto start airplane. Put that back to there, and we'll turn it on. We don't need to wait. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Love the sounds on this as well. Speed nugget, when using SimBrief for a flight plan, does it automatically make it so you can do an ILS? The flight plan has nothing to do with whether you're flying ILS. The flight plan is the route to get you to the airport. It's the airport itself, whether it has an ILS available. So you need the charts really to see that, or what's available in your FMS. For ultra realism, you could have reverse navigate. Indeed, so few airplanes that can do that. No, it can't, says Racken. Yeah, didn't think it could. Good. EGT dropping, stabilized. Let's start the left engine. Yes, it is left and right. We had this discussion. We flew the 737 MAX recently, and we were discussing left and right engines. And yeah, Boeing had it's 1 and 2 on the 737, which really confused me, because of course, famously to me anyway, it's a big thing to me. There's the 787's left and right, because I got in big trouble every time I was being trained on it. Not really big trouble, but yeah, I would repeatedly say 1 and 2, and it's just not what you say on the 78 or the 777. It's left and right. Again, another reason why they share a type rating. You know, these sorts of things are all the same. What a beast! Love it. It's so chunky. That fuselage is just huge. Flight Simulator 2020 still looks rather fantastic, doesn't it? No way around that. Thanks so much, Klaus, for the 100 Danish kroner. Really appreciate it. That's very, very kind. Thank you so much. That is very kind indeed. I hope you're having a good day, and thank you for coming along. I'm glad you're enjoying the channel. Right, that is the second engine started. That's all worked nicely. It's gone back into norm. You can hear the fan sort of restart now, because this does use bleed air for its engine starts. So, we're going to come up here. We are going to check that all the generators are online. They are. AP can go off. We don't need any anti-ice. We can set the flaps. We agreed flap 5 for this takeoff, which is over here, flaps 5. And then we're going to get rid of those secondary engine instruments. Don't need those now. And we're going to do the recall, which is just the TCAS. I'm going to put that to TRA now, because I don't have to look around it while we're taxiing. Some people would leave that until the... there is some pilots will leave the TCAS until the cabin is secure, and then put it to T8RA. Modern airplanes, including the 787 nowadays, will actually tell you if the cabin has said it's secure, but it depends on the fit and so on. So you, at one point, you needed to remember whether the cabin was secure for your checklist. So you could say, I won't put that to TRA until it is. And that way, as you taxi out, you'd have that amber TCAS sitting there. Anyway, thank you again, Klaus, for the very kind super chat. Really appreciate it. Very kind. Don't blow the Airbus out of the way, says Wild Rumble. Good to see you, Wild Rumble. Thanks for coming along. Yes, we will do our best. I think at this weight we would roll free pretty easily. Right, checklists. Anti-ice, auto, recall, checks, flight controls, of course. We need to do the flight controls. What am I thinking? So you do that once the ground crew wave you off, you see, and that's typically the trigger. So that's something not to be forgotten. Oh, we want a better view than that. Let's see those flight controls, please. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Awesome. I love inboard ailerons. They just remind me of going on big old Boeings back in the day. That's great. Now the Boeing flight control check is actually quite a lot slower than the Airbus one. I've done it a bit faster. I'm just sort of amusing myself. You do it really quite slowly, and some pilots do it very slowly. I'm talking like this, and you'll see it if you're behind one. It does say in the FCOM to do this, you know, at a careful speed. You don't just sort of, you know, go full this. Whereas on the 320 it doesn't really specify. So you'll see Boeings do their flight control checks like this, very, very carefully. I don't personally understand why. Same with the rudder. You want to be very, it's done at a very gentle speed. Even that's probably quite fast for it. Something like that. My pedals are a bit sticky, hence that, hence that uneven movement. Yeah, it's a funny difference between the two. The Airbus doesn't really seem to care. The only thing I can imagine is it's to do with the fact that, especially on a big heavy airplane like this, these flight controls and the wings are very bendy. The tips of the wings are, will change position a lot. So these flight controls all sort of rub and grind together. So when the airplane isn't in flight, it's not quite its natural position. So moving the flight controls around on the ground is a different sort of thing for it. So I think it's to do with that. I don't know for sure. The 787, interestingly, same as the 380, because the 380 wing obviously bends down as well. The spoilers sit slightly lifted. It doesn't do it on the triple, I don't think. No, I don't think it does. The 787 ones, they bias up slightly, so that as it taxis along and the wing flexes up and down, because it's obviously an even bendier wing on the 787, that way they don't rub against it. Yeah, and the 380 does the same thing. Alright. Let me just see if I missed anything in chat. No, we're all doing well. Thank you all so much for coming along. Do please, again, leave a like. I'm sorry to ask again, but yeah, if you are enjoying, it's greatly appreciated. Which view do we want for this one, by the way? Oh, that's pretty good, isn't it? Yeah, I like seeing the engine. You can see it wobble. Also, I love this little bit of engineering here, this inboard little Kruger flap that pops out. It's the last sort of remnant of the Kruger flaps. You don't see them anymore. But yeah, the 747-400 does, of course, have Kruger flaps on this part of the wing in between the engines that pop in when the reversers come out. But yeah, I quite like seeing that. Do you think there'll be a 380 in the 2024 version? I think Fly-by-Wire would move it across. I don't know that, but I would imagine they would. Did you ever fly the polar routes? I can't get this to work in the 777. No, I've not flown polar. No, that's quite rare. Not many airlines do that. You need certain equipment on board to do it. So yeah, it's relatively rare. Right, let's get taxiing. We do have the charts. EFB. Pinned. Airports. Good. So we're just going to head out and then we'll take... Now this is a slight problem. It's that the camera doesn't zoom in very far. Okay. We're going to head out of the apron and we'll take Kilo and Alpha. Auckland Ground, New Zealand 543, taxiing to runway 23 left via Kilo and Alpha. Good. Parking brake released. Let's put the lights on, clear on the right, and it's very clear on the left. Let's finally get rid of those sunshades. Now, are we rolling? I'd have thought we'd be rolling by now. No. Just going to need a little bit of gas. A little bit of gas. There we go, already moving. Now, someone said, make sure you don't blow away that 320 behind. And it's a really good point. When you're in a 320, jet blast on any of these aircraft is a big deal. They push huge amounts of air out the back because you're moving hundreds of tons using air, blowing. It's incredibly, it's an incredible amount of air that flows through them. These are the largest jet engines in the world until the 777X ones come into service. So they pump ridiculous amounts of air. So you do not want to rev up in the apron if you can avoid it. You've got to be very, very careful. If you were to turn this 777 towards that terminal and rev the engines, you'd be causing damage to the terminal, and you can't do it. You've got to think people are walking around out there. There's containers here that can be blown around. It's incredibly important on this airplane. And any airplane, but the 777-300 is possibly the most important. 380 as well. These airplanes have to be very considerate of it. Very considerate of it. Nice thing in the Boeing is that the way the procedures are set up is that you've done everything when you go to taxi, so there's not much to do as you move along. Now I said I want Kilo and Alpha. Oh yeah, we'll take Kilo there. So we go out Delta 8, then we go right, left. Sorry, left, right, left. That should work. Philip Aubert, good to see you. Yeah, another stream. I did say I wanted to get them a bit more regular, and yeah, pleased to manage another one today, especially on a Sunday like we used to do. Marcus says, I'm testing FS2 crew for 777 right now. I can say it really adds to the immersion. Yeah, I've still not done that. Something to consider. I should try. Let's put up a VOR needle just for the fun of it. Right, clear out on this taxiway, clear on the left. We don't take turns faster than 10 knots really on these airplanes. It's not worth it. They just grind around and cause problems. And we would of course have the camera for taxiing, which isn't a feature on the PMDG sadly, but that's what you have. Oh yeah, flight control, ground equipment, that is the before taxi check is complete indeed. That's why there'd be two of you. Clear on the right, clear on the left. Now oversteering, again more so than on the 7.8. This airplane needs oversteering. Get the airplane right up to the grass. Also the nose is obviously it's quite a way behind you. But yeah, there you go. Look how far forwards we've had to go. It looks like we're over the grass, but actually that's kept the centre of the airplane in the right place. Could have cut that a little bit more, but that's worked out nicely. There we go. So yeah, it's a strange sensation. 787 has a bit of that, but not quite as noticeable. Thank you for those follows, for those of you who joined us on Twitch and are following along. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us. Drone says, FS2 crew is a must at me now. There you go. Ebos says, with great power comes great responsibility. Indeed it does. Right, now I said, because I'm getting distracted by chat. This is Kilo here. I love this livery. So great. Now this is actually a nice taxiway. This is quite wide open, hence we could do that a bit late. There are much worse. Doing 90-degree left-rights in some airports in these long-haul airplanes it's really quite an experience. 787 is quite interesting because it's not such a large airplane. It does fly into some smaller airports for long-haul. I've flown the 787 into airports where we are the only long-haul airplane that operates there, and that can make things very interesting, especially when you're doing these sorts of turns. Now again, this is nice and wide, but you can see maybe this one up here would be a little tighter, and you're doing the right, left, right. Now if you have a camera view outside, it's all very easy, but if you're just inside the flight deck, you've got to be remembering what you're turning the nose, but you've got to remember where are those main wheels still sitting and what are they going to do when I turn this nose. It's a strange sensation. Jacob says, great to catch you live for a change. Hope you and the first officer are both doing well. We're doing well, thank you Jacob. Great to have you here. There you go, I didn't turn that properly, hence we're not in line with the runway, the taxiway. Sort of just sitting off to the side. This is such a good scenery. Nice to fly from somewhere with scenery. I removed a lot of the scenery so I can install Flight Simulator 2024 on this computer, but it's, like I say, not running very well. And H132 says, is there a chance we might see you back in Down Air Virtual at some point for a stream? Yeah, definitely. Love to do that. I need to remember how to fly on the virtual airlines. Booch2 says, what does the first officer think of long haul? The first officer isn't very impressed about long haul because obviously when I go away now for work, it's not ever just the day, you know, and she'll be left alone for longer than she likes. Obviously I made sure she's well looked after, but you know, there are people she likes. There's people she doesn't care about, and I think she does like the people that come and look after her, definitely, but she particularly wants obviously her captain. Right, we're doing 9 knots. We can go 20 knots in a straight line, not really an issue. Give it a bit of oomph. There we go. Just for Freight says, where is the crew rest in the 300ER? Well, there's all different. It depends on what your airline fitted it with. Windows seat, good to see you. Windows seat, our resident engineer. Windows seat says, Rolls-Royce normally start dual engine GE1 at once, but that was the ops at EK. Sorry, catching up in your stream. Flicking through. I hope all is well. All is well, window seat. Thank you for coming along. And yes, yeah. It's Rolls-Royce then. So it's just Rolls-Royce to do the 2-engine start on the triple. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. How common are DME approaches with the 777? I'm still a bit green. What do you mean by DME approach, Marcus?
Auckland ground, speed 195, landing on runway 23.
Hey, there's Papa Juliet, isn't it? The BEA. Good to see it down here. Sharon says, have you been a streamer very long? Yes, so I've streamed on YouTube for 4 years. Almost 5 years. Don't say that. But yeah, and on Twitch a little bit shorter, but probably 4 years now, 3 years maybe. But less regularly on Twitch, but I am trying to do both now at the same time. There was a period where you weren't allowed to and so on, so. Non-ILS visual landing markers. So you mean a non-precision approach, perhaps, like an NDB or an RNAV is basically what it would be these days. They're relatively common. It's just in the 777 less common than in the A320, of course, because this airplane flies to bigger airports that are more likely to have an ILS. That's the reality. So in my time on the 320, I flew RNAVs and non-precision approaches all the time, and now on long haul, it's rare. It's rare. They are out there, but it's rare. There are some classic ones though, like JFK, you know, has a RNAV approach onto its famous Canarsie approach. DME arc, very rare. I mean, you would just fly that in lateral navigation mode. The airplane will have a calculated path.
Runway.
I agree with you. This is great scenery. I must have installed this through Flight Simulator's marketplace for it still to be in there. 1 hour 15, very short flight today, hence we've taken so long to get out there. We've done 1 hour and 20 of streaming to get to the taxiways, but it's been fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy chatting with you all, so thank you for your patience. Also, I don't think that's bad. Arriving on a long-haul airplane 1 hour and 20 before the flight, you know. Oh, sorry, it's been about 1 hour and 10. Not terrible. Now, we can't really leapfrog the queue. These all go to the same point, so we'll wait behind this United. So let's try and do this from the inside. I'll show you what I mean. So we've got to get the speed down. 10 knots maximum. Then oversteer. It is a disconcerting feeling. I'm still not truly used to it. That's worked out, but you can see that was no tighter than that. Really could have gone a bit further into that corner. Right, United's going. That's a good model. That is a very nice looking 777 model, I've got to say.
Traffic, speed of 195. We're departing out of 2-3 left, and we're on the left for a 2-puff departure.
Let's set the brake. Let's run the checklists. 4 takeoff checklists. Flaps are at 5. Good. So, takeoff procedure. Pulled on the yoke a little bit. Thrust up to stabilise. N1 of 50%, I believe, in this one. That could vary. It's all different engines and so on. It does vary on the 7.8 as well, depending on N1, TPR and so on. So we go 50% N1. Then we're going to hit the toga button, which is there, but that actually on the real aircraft is that button there. And then they'll drive forward to the takeoff thrust of 87.6. Roll along. As we get to 80 knots, we'll release that stick to neutral. Wind is slightly from the left, but it's pretty light. And then we'll roll along V1 and rotate. And then we'll rotate the airplane up to the fire. Up to 15 degrees initially.
Runway 23 left for south departure, Auckland traffic.
Again, if you are watching, do please leave a like. Makes a big difference to the channel. There goes the United. Auckland traffic. New Zealand 543 lining out for runway 23 left. Right, we've done the checklist. So, lights on. Take off the taxi lights. Strobe lights are on. Goods. Clear on the approach. Clear on another display. There goes that traffic. It's amazing how well this stuff works on Flight Simulator sometimes. I am impressed. Brake released. There we go. Good. Let's line up and let's go. It's incredibly satisfying when you get the turn bang on, says GT5 King. Yeah, it is. I love taxiing around. I love it. It's a great part of the job. That might sound stupid, but it's a weirdly satisfying feeling. And airplanes are pretty bad on the ground, really. They're not cars, but there's something satisfying about it indeed. I do agree with that. We're the last on our convoy today, although we might overtake that 320, given that we'll be going considerably faster. There's a wind. It is straight across from the left, so I will put a little bit of into-wind aileron to keep those wings level. And as we rotate different from the 320, we're going to hold the rudder in this one. We don't let it weathercock straight away. We'll hold the rudder, and then we'll... oh, this is going to be quite a deep turn. There we go. Yeah. And even that, see, not quite deep enough. This is a long airplane. We needed to get ourselves right over that line, didn't we? Let's get us somewhere there, and then we'll go. Yeah, so a little bit of into-wind aileron, and then we'll hold the rudder and aileron as we get into the air, and then release it once we are in the air. Good, there we go. What a beauty. Right, traffic in front. We're just giving it a little bit longer to climb away. Oh, they're not showing on there. Is our TCAS set to above? Above, there we go. Can't see them, but we know they're getting out of the way pretty quickly. Just give it a second more.
Auckland traffic, 92 Gulf passing, Earthship 7,000 feet for flight level 100.
Oh, there they go. Already passing Airship. So we'll give them a minute more, and then we'll head off. I'm sure we'll be going at a similar speed. Marcus says, can Wellington handle a 777? I don't think there are any routes. No, I did look, and the only airport I could find in New Zealand South Island was Christchurch. Hence, I would have gone a bit longer if we had the option. I would have done a bit of a longer flight. True says, I love these streams and the fact that you take time to chat with us and answer our questions. I hope to be your passenger someday. It would be so cool to hear your voice on a real plane. That's very kind. Thank you, True. Thanks for coming along, and I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm always trying to strike a balance between actually, making progress and chatting with you all, because we want to do both of those things, don't we? Right, let's get this beast in the air. It's been poised long enough. Auckland traffic, New Zealand 543, taking off 23 left with a southerly departure. Okay, let's go. Forward on the yoke. We also don't hold it on the brakes. In particular, you don't want to do that because it can actually cause a bit of a tipping up moment on the 787, certainly if you go too high on the thrust with the brakes held. Look at it, it just wants to go. Thrust ref, toga toga, bit of into-wind aileron. There they go. And now I'm going to hold the thrust levers forward because last time I didn't, and we know how that ended. There's 80 knots, 6 neutral, but still got a bit of into-wind aileron, keeping those wings level. Easier to do in the 787 with the HUD. Bit of right rudder needed because it's trying to weathercock to the left. V1. There's the rotate. Holding the rudder, holding the aileron until we get it off the ground. Different to the Airbus. There we go. I can hear it's off the ground. Now I'm going to let it weathercock. I need to keep pitching up. Positive rate. If I can find my little gear. There it is. Gear up. And into LNAV. And we're away. Thrust ref, LNAV, VNAV speeds. I am using a yoke today, so I might enjoy flying it for a few seconds at least. Love it, love it, love it. Next it's going to get to 1,500 feet. And accelerate. There it goes. And the climbs come back to climb 2, which I can see labelled here. Climb 2, 86%. Not much of a change. Quite common. If you've got a big D-rate, then there won't be much change to the actual thrust at thrust reduction altitude or acceleration altitude. Flaps are 5. We're above 5, so we can bring them to 1. And once we get above that 1, bring them up. Now this blue FBW isn't there on the real aeroplane, so I'm trying to ignore it, so don't pay much attention to it. It's handy in some senses though. It's quite a cool feature. And that's it. We are cruising away. So I can actually just set that, you see, to 250. And that will put the airplane bang in trim for that speed. And there we are. Fantastic. Let's fly this turn. It's great. This is a really good simming experience. I've got the Thrustmaster Boeing yoke. It's PMDG 777. I'm enjoying this. The Thrustmaster Boeing yoke I particularly like. It's a great weight. Now that's a bit of a lively flight director. I don't really think we want to put the nose all the way up there just because of a bit of turbulence. Look at that wing bending around. The engine wobbling as well. Okay. There we go. Right. We've done it. We've done a whole turn. That's more than normal. Put in the autopilot. Thrust ref and our VNAV speed autopilot. Climb to 10,000. Transition altitude 13,000. Go to our VNAV page. Next. And I can see cruising at 380. We've got no reason not to go straight up there. I'm going to set that to thousands. Put 380 in the window. I'm going to leave it in VNAV and let it climb all the way up to 38. We can set standard because we're going up to flight level. Standards. Great. 380. Flaps are up. We're on standards. I think we'll do the after takeoff checklists. After takeoff checklist, landing gear up, flaps up. After takeoff checklist complete. Very calm day. I mean, look at this. The weather, absolutely amazing. Stella says, do you try to get the plane into autopilot ASAP when flying in real life? No, not ASAP. Depending on the conditions. If it's really busy or really turbulent and there's things to concentrate on, like getting those flaps in or making a frequency change, or is there terrain to avoid, anything like that, weather to avoid, then yes, just get the autopilot in. Why would you have both pilots having to focus on your hand flying when there's other stuff to be focused on? But on a nice day like this, I'd have flown that like that. Yeah, definitely, at least that first turn. Got to remember what it feels like to actually turn the airplane, especially when you're on long haul when you just don't fly them very often. Peter DR, thanks for coming along. Enjoy your evening. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much. It is perfect weather for flying, I do agree. That is the weather right now in real life. It's a great day for travelling. Yeah. Lucky New Zealand. It's summer down here, I suppose, of course. Right, so the airplane has done its Boeing thing and accelerated to its nice fast climb speed, so it's going to really rock it up now. 4,000 feet per minute, absolutely ridiculous. And we could get more out of it if we wanted. If I go to let's get this right. Init ref, thrust limit. Oh, it's gone to climb. There we go, so that's fine. Slightly different. 787 wouldn't have automatically gone to climb. So yeah, we're at max climb thrust. I could derate it to climb 2, and then it'll bring the thrust back a little bit and have a more sensible climb rate. Cabin altitude must be doing something quite fun. Yeah, 400 feet per minute. You'd feel that. Your ears would be popping. 2,300 feet. Great stuff. Buzzing 10,000. We could have turned the seatbelt signs to auto. Got rid of the landing lights. And just the strobe lights on. Beacon and nav lights on. Good. Good. Thanks for the follow. Two fillets. Sam says, how often have you announced takeoff landing on Unicom as a commercial pilot? Never done it. We don't ever. Unicom is not a thing you'll find in flying jet airliners around very often. Now, parts of the world it will be, maybe in Australia and so on, but no. For me, I've been mostly flying, remember, short haul in Europe until this point in my career, and never had like a Unicom frequency, always controlled airspace. Remember, airlines don't like sending their airplanes into uncontrolled airspace. It's a level of risk that they aren't perhaps willing to take. you've got to remember, in uncontrolled airspace where you might have that, or an uncontrolled airport, you have much slower aircraft flying around with you cruising around at 320 knots. You know, it's not a great compatibility. Ashley says, do you know of ways to train ATC recognition? Like, I want to try VATSIM, but I'm having major difficulty remembering Beyond ATC. Yeah, Beyond ATC is a good way to do it. Just keep trying until it sort of becomes useful. Don't get too hung up on everything being exactly perfect. Oh, didn't mean to do that. I've just pressed the autopilot button on my thing. Whoa, 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 whoa. Right, VNAV, 380, thrust ref, VNAV speed. That's because my hand left on the autopilot panel. Speed window's closed. We are climbing. Good. Yeah, so the other thing to do is to sit at a busy airport, like in the UK it'd be Heathrow or Gatwick, and listen to the controllers and just get used to it. Stephen says, do you fly Rolls-Royce or GE 787s? Do you know of many differences between the two? I won't say which I fly. Differences between the two, there's only a few. It's mainly to do with the limitations of the engine and also the thrust. So this is an N1 aeroplane because it's GE. If it was Rolls-Royce, this would say EPR. On the 787, it's TPR. It makes no difference because the number I'm going to look at in the real world is the N1 anyway. But yeah, so there's not much difference between them. You know, this weather is so nice that I wouldn't actually, if I was trying to take a screenshot or something, I wouldn't do it in this weather because it's too nice. What a beautiful country, though. I love flying down coastlines. Flying down coastlines feels really... it's great. The coastlines are often full of towns and things like that. They're also full of interesting sort of features. Ports and boats, and also interesting geography, cliff faces, coves, caves, beaches. So flying down coastlines is always fun. And it's particularly fun because they're a feature that if you were flying visually, right, you'd fly down a coastline as well because it's just an easy way to navigate. So it's quite nice to do it in a jet aeroplane. I enjoy doing it in Europe. A common coast to fly down, the coast of Italy, either side, or Croatia. These are great things to do. So this is, yeah, I'm glad we got this route. Again, apologies for missing chats. Lovely first says, your videos helped me learn how to fly the 320. Thanks so much. And would you recommend me buying the 770 in Microsoft Flight Simulator? You're very welcome. And I'm glad. I'm really glad to have helped you with the 320. 777, it's up to you. Have a look at some of my videos on it. See if you think it's your sort of thing. I think this is a great add-on. I think that I like that they gave us the 300 first, because I think this is the one I would have wanted more than the 200. Although I would like a 200. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I think it's a lovely add-on, and I enjoy flying it. Two things I like about it. Three things I like about it. I like the overall model and everything. It's lovely. In terms of sheer visual fidelity, I think the Phoenix is still top of the game. But the visual model is great. The cockpit's lovely. The performance is fantastic, and the way it works, it does work. It responds very quickly. It's very nice to set up a PMDG plane. Their 737 was the same, and it is very pleasant. Andy Robinson, thanks so much for the $5 super chat. Really appreciate it. Andy says $5 almost for 5 years. I love the channel and appreciate the time you put into it. Thanks so much, Andy. That's really, really kind. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I really appreciate it when people say things so kind, because it's a long time, right? This channel's been a big part of my life now. At this point, it's not just a COVID hobby now. It's still here 5 years later. So thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Ruchi2 says, I always thought all the init info went into the box before start, not after. It does indeed go in before start. But what you can do is you can go to the thrust limit and you can change it during the climb. There you go, climb 1. So we did this in the 737. If I wanted to make a higher, let's say I wanted to climb a bit higher quicker, I might set it to climb. Or I could go speed intervene and pull the speed back, and this green banana is showing me where I'll level off. So if I do that, it will come closer and closer and closer, and we'll make the level sooner. So now we're going to rock it up. I mean, the angle must be ridiculous. Yeah, look at that. Almost 5 degrees climb. That's ridiculous. Big wing. If you get the wrong seat on a 777-300, you're going to see nothing. You just see wing. No, I didn't think it was that bumpy. I think this engine wobble is a little bit. Yeah, I wouldn't expect it to be wobbling too much at this point, but still, I don't see that view very often. I do have turbulence in Microsoft Flight Simulator, Peter Green, but yes, it can be too severe. It was certainly too severe in Flight Simulator 2024, and I turned it down in there. Yeah, I turned it way down from realistic. Now you'll notice it's converted to 8.4, so we're climbing at Mach 8.4. We will be very much storming ahead of that 320 now, I would have thought. Or certainly catching up. Oh no, we've got quite a gap. Quite a gap. I'm not sure how this will work out. I don't know if we're going to have time for the 2 777s to overtake the 320. We shall see. Once we're in the cruise. In fact, no, I'm going to do it now because it's bugging me. Menu, setup, aircraft, displays. I like this as well. I love the. Oh, I like a round red out dial, definitely. Angle of attack indicator. Yes, let's have that. Why not? Oh, we'll have that instead then. Track up. No, definitely not. There we go. I want this to say heading. I don't know who has it set up with track there. I don't know, but very unusual sort of way of flying. Very confusing to me for the ND to point and track. Now it makes sense. I can totally see why it makes sense, but it's just so different. Right, let's close that window again. So now the airplane can choose its speed. We've effectively gone to manage speed, as it would be called in the Airbus. Also, this is hilarious. Why does it say this for the whole flight? Of course it's on. It's on all the time. It's on here. Shows that this is from a slightly older generation where that might have been turned off. So that goes on, just like the seatbelt signs will show up there as well. That's the signs on. Why does it need to say no smoking? What if I put it to auto? Does it go away then? Maybe it wants to be an auto. That'll work better. But yeah, thank you again, Andy. Thank you for the super chat. Crash says, have you seen the new MCDU and FMC hardware from Winwing? Is this something you'd be interested in showcasing on the channel? Yeah, it's something I should look into. I have seen it. I have seen it crop up. You got to remember, in terms of hardware, I'm sort of limited of what I use because I like to show everything on the channel, right? So I could, I suppose, have a camera, like I've done videos with the camera on my yoke and so on. So I could do a video, I could have a live camera on the MCDU, I suppose. Or CDU in this case. And they look great. What would be really confusing to me is if it's an Airbus. Is it Airbus specific or Boeing specific, or are they sort of generic? Is there anywhere in the world where smoking is still allowed on flights other than private flights? I don't know. I don't know of one, if there is. Thanks for the follow. Thanks for the subscription. Peter O and CP65. Marcus says, if you in real life would be given instructions that you didn't think made sense, what would you do? Can you override what ATC says? The ultimate responsibility, this is important to remember. The ultimate responsibility, their speed, being a path, is on the pilots. So if air traffic control were to accidentally point the airplane into a mountain and tell you to descend towards it, then, speaking of which, let's put the terrain on, then that's up to us to not do. The pilots have to know where everything is, in normal situation. Obviously, air traffic control, I'm not for a second suggesting would do that, but if there was an error or something went wrong, we need to know what we're doing. So yes, if you didn't think something was safe, you don't do it. You have ultimate responsibility for the airplane. And this is, I've talked about this before on the streams, but the big thing about being an airline pilot is, and it sounds obvious, but it is the responsibility. And it's not just responsibility for flying the airplane, it's responsibility for everything about the operation falls down to the pilots. If there's something on the outside of the airplane that an engineer has accidentally missed, why didn't the pilots spot it when they did their walk around? Same for the flight deck. Why didn't the pilot notice that? Why didn't the pilots spot, the fuel conversion was written down wrong? There's lots and lots of errors that come through, and it's the pilots are the last line. We are the final people that need to be happy about it, and it's on us, right? That's the job. That's what we are there to do. So it's a big part of the job, and when you're on short haul, a lot of it is, you're constantly dealing with it. Look at that mountain. How cool is that? You're right overhead. When you're flying around on short haul, you're constantly having to consider all the challenges of having a flight, land and take off and turn around, and all of the associated errors that could come through in there. Like I say, talking about refueling and taxi instructions or anything else, and flying approaches and so on. On long haul, it's a different style. It's being out in the middle of nowhere. Is the airplane fit to do this? Is the weather fit to do this? Do we have alternates that are within range if we were to lose an engine? Do we have the performance to get into those alternates? Is the weather good enough? That's sort of the long haul style of constant responsibility. As well as, of course, you've still got the departure and arrival at each end of it, but they might be 14 hours apart versus 40 minutes. I absolutely, again, I've said it several times on this stream, I'll say it again, this is such a pretty livery. Fantastic. Thank you for all those new follows and subscriptions. Dougal says there's a YouTube video of ATC giving bad instructions to multiple pilots. Turns out she was having a stroke. There you go. That's exactly the sort of thing. Where you have to refuse, and there are, pilots do refuse instructions. Again, I'm not suggesting air traffic control regularly are in that position, but yeah. Marcus prefers the All Blacks livery. Fair enough. Patrick's talking about the green light taxi routing. So some airports have a green light routing where they will just turn on the lights and let you follow them around, and it's a great system. It's fantastic. It's the best. I think all airports should do it, and they should do it all the time, even in the daylight, because it's so good. And some airports do it in the daylight. Skypilot says, I've been watching your channel for over 3 years now, and this week I passed 500 hours in the 320 on Microsoft Flight Simulator. You taught me everything I know, literally. Thank you for this joy you can hear. That's great. I'm so glad you're enjoying it and getting so much fun out of it, Skypilot. Thank you for coming along and saying so. Appreciate it. SLO says, halfway down the North Island now. Should be able to see Mount Ruapahu in the centre of the North Island. I think, is that what we're just going over? Is that it there? I mean, look at that. Oh, New Zealand's just amazing. I think we flew over this before. I remember the circle. They have both units, so Winwing have both. Pre-orders open on the 17th. So I take it everyone's pretty excited about that. And that's from Winwing, is it? Let's look into that. Top of descent coming up very soon. What range is this? Only 80 miles away. We need to get ready. Unusually short for this one. Andy says, back in X-Plane 11 there were 2 countries where I made real effort with getting the ortho spot on, New Zealand and Italy, because the scenery is stunning both. Yes. Yeah, I can see why. Right, arrival. We're coming in via... Up there's 1 Bravo. Yeah, that didn't work, did it? There we go. Up there's 1 Bravo. That is an arrival for runway 20. Makes sense. Looks like the winds are going to be southerly. Just grab the weather for Christchurch. I don't think we have a controller there. Nope. 240 at 7, overcast 29, 12 degrees, 1017. Great. So southerly runway. Coming in via Iprak, 11,000 feet or above. Up there's into Odyssey, that's pinned, and then approach runway 20. I don't think there's any reason to do the ARs particularly, although that's cool. Bit of a swoop round, but I think we will do. Oh, they got loads of approaches. Crikey. Well, there's an RNS, really. I mean, we could do an RNAV Yankee AR. That's pretty cool. What's up with this? Why have they got this? 4,000 feet, round it goes, swooping round and in. Strange. There's no terrain to cause it. Authorised on airport temperature is below -10 or above 47. Not authorised, I was going to say, yeah. RMP 0.3, that's fine, we've got all that. Our AMP is 0.06, airplane's doing very well. Set the TCAS to below now in the cruise. Quick search says EBOS and smoking has been globally banned on flights. There we go. So yeah, it's just not a thing. It's because part of it is you know, the threat to flying is you just don't want fires on airplanes, do you, of any variety. Epaulet, good to see you. Glad you enjoyed it. See you next time. Thanks for coming along. Right. And also, Bala, hello to you. They say, hello, 320 Sim Pilot. I have watched some of your videos lately. Nice to see you live. Thanks for coming along. Glad you watched them. Mike says, I was a pilot for many years and took early retirement during COVID. Streamers such as yourself have given me back the love and interest in flying, and I'm hoping to get into flight simming soon. Excellent. Glad to hear it, Mike. Sorry to hear you're not flying now, but yeah, flight simming is great fun. So much you can do in it. Apologies, my YouTube chat is lagging behind in my my streaming software, so apologies for that. So, yes, I'm trying to decide on the approach. I don't really know why we would do this. It's just going to be an LNAV and VNAV and sort of swoop around. I don't know why it exists, frankly. If anyone is aware of a reason to have such a... Oh, look at these. What altitude are you at NLAT at? NLAT is 1,100 feet. I mean, this would look great. It would be really cool to see. But perhaps a little destabilising for a 777-300. Although you can do this into New York, something similar. And then, of course, we have the ILS's colour code. I've never heard of a yellow ILS. Wow. Or we just have a straight-in ILS from Odyssey. That's sort of the problem, is that we have we're coming in via Odyssey. Let's pin that. I'm going to pin the Yankee AR just for my own amusement. See if it's in the box. And we'll take the airport chart, parking stands, and airports. No. No. Come on, where's the ground chart? Airport info. Good. So we're landing here. 20 landing. Vacate. Probably Alpha 6 or Alpha 7. 3,200 meter runway can easily handle an aircraft of this size, but we can do landing en route weather. Import from OFP. Does that work? We're going to land on runway 20, and at a weight of current gross weights. I don't think the 777 tells you this. 223. There you go. You got to go in there for it. Landing flap 30, which I think we discussed this last time. I think it's the most common setting on the 777-300. Air conditioning on, anti-ice off, no reverse credit, auto brakes 3, why not, and import weather, calculates. Could almost go down to auto brakes 2. We'll go 3. I think 3 is a good setting for this. We're light enough, it's not going to make any difference, and we'll just stop very quickly, I imagine, like that. In fact, yeah, let's go 2. No, I'm changing my mind, because we want to get down to that high-speed exit, and we know we work nicely with 2. Great. So, yep, there's the arrival, so let's load that in. IPRAC, UPFES, Odyssey. So we'll go departure arrival, Auckland arrivals, no. Christchurch arrivals. So what does it have? RLS, localizer, RNAV. Yeah, it has the RNAVs. It does have the RNAVs. Midnight Club says, what's the difference between climb thrust and cruise thrust in the cruise? Nothing. In fact, the 787 doesn't go to cruise thrust. It stays at, well, depending on the engines, I suppose. I don't know about all the engines, but yeah, it won't go to cruise. It stays at climb. It's irrelevant, and it's essentially the same. If I go to perf, I won't. Let's do it now. There we go. Force it to climb. 97.6. Cruise 94. Oh, there is a difference on this one then. There you go. So there's a couple of percentage points different. All of them are fine to run the engines at for a long time though. Right. Marcus says, what is the difference between landing dispatch and en route? So that is, looking here, you've got landing dispatch and en route. So this should give you a weight. Whereas, so you do a dispatch performance check to check the maximum weight you can land at, and then you know that you're fine to go. And then you do an actual one en route, which is to tell you, you know, the actual distance and what auto brake you might use and so on. But the dispatch one is just to tell you what weight you're going to go. So you can see here, it does contain the flap, but it doesn't contain the auto brake settings. It's just going to give us the maximum weight, I believe. Anyway, the reason you have this is because it's you are obliged to, there you go, quick turn weight and maximum weight. You are obliged to know that the airplane can land when it gets there, so you have to have done some sort of check of the landing performance before you set off. and then you do another one en route to fine tune that into, well, what brake are we going to use and so on. But the idea is you shouldn't, if you've done one of these, the dispatch one, then you shouldn't be in the cruise like we are now. You do your landing en route and go, oh, hold on, we don't fit. And now it can happen if there's a big change, or the runway ice is over, or the tailwind picks up, or they swap runways, things like this, then you might find that, but in general it shouldn't happen. It's a, like I say, mandatory to make sure that doesn't happen. Jada says, not sure if it got buried earlier, but you said that you like the 787 electrical system. But I heard that part of it is really maintenance intensive and requires frequent replacement. Is this true? I don't know if that's true. I haven't heard that myself. It may be true. But the 787 has big electrics on board. 787 has, all airplanes have sort of big avionics bays. But the 787 has a big electronics bay at the back as well. And in there, it's got huge electronic relays in order to power massive systems, including flaps, the heating on the wings, the electronic stabilizer, the brake systems. These are big electrical loads. So yeah, the generators and the electrical system on the 78 are considerable. And it's an amazing piece of design. It's fantastic, in fact. I really like it. When it's not uncommon, there's been a lot of criticism of Boeing, and there's reasons for that, and I think it's been accepted that a lot of that is valid. But something that started to crop up, it became very common online, and there's it's encouraged by certain YouTube channels as well, and even if it's just a title and a thumbnail, but it encourages this idea that Boeing somehow has not innovated at all or engineered at all, and that isn't. I don't think that's true. The 787 was a huge risk. It is a completely redesigned idea of what a modern airliner can be, and they didn't need to do it like that. Airbus just put new engines on the 330, and when they made the 350, they did use the composite, but it's still not underneath the hood as revolutionary, although it is fantastic, as the 787 in my opinion. 787 uses so many new things, and that was a huge risk and a massive engineering cost to Boeing. And they did that at the time that it's become common to suggest that they weren't innovating, but actually it just depends on which project you're looking at. And I get the criticism, and I'm not here to defend or suggest anything other, but the 787 systems and the electrical systems on it are remarkably different. Yeah, George Lumpkin says engineers working hard to do great things. Agreed. And then but we all know, we know what happened with the 73 Max, and that's you don't need me to sit here and tell you what my opinion on that, because it's just obvious. That should never have happened, should it? JLust, I was not for a second suggesting that you were saying that Boeing don't innovate. I was just talking about the electrical system, and then that got me onto that point. So yeah, no, absolutely. I have not heard about the extra maintenance required because of that electrification of the 787. It wouldn't surprise me if there's these sorts of things, because it's a first generation of that style of system. So I can imagine there are surprise maintenance costs involved. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. So that is interesting to hear for me as well. That's not something I would tend to hear about flying these airplanes on the line. I want airplanes that are as reliable as it's humanly possible to make them. How often would you use the chrono on a flight? I do use it. What do I use it for? Typically timing turbulence. Timing, if air traffic control says climb to a certain level in 3 minutes, then I will time it. Things like that. Yeah, that's when I'll use that. Right, anyway, 40 miles to go now to top of descent. It was just recalculated. Also, we didn't give it the winds, I've just realised, for its last 2 points, but they could be quite different for the descent. So there we go. wouldn't have mattered too much for the cruise on this flight. Anyway, departure arrival. Right, that's what we were doing. Let's put in the ILS 20. And we're coming in via up there's 1 Bravo. And Odyssey. If we go to plan, zoom in, legs. It's not quite worked. Let's just check. Should go IPRAC above 11,000, then upfares above 7,000 by C. IPRAC. Oh, upfares. There we go. 7,000 or above. Great. And let's put in an 11,000 or above to make sure we obey that. Good. So that is the start of the arrival. Like Auden says, you use the chrono for timing procedures as well. You would, yeah, not a common thing to do these days, flying procedurally using timing. Even procedural airports, you will have it coded typically in the FMS. But you could use it for that, and it is nice to have it. And the 787 still has a clock accessible just like that. It doesn't have all these ADF needles. They're gone now, but yeah, there you go. So that is the start. So that is our flight plan. We've checked through that, taking us through and then onto the RS. I'm sorry if I've missed the message, if anyone's pointed out why we have those wacky RNAV arrivals. I mean, that's just amazing. But there we go. And we're going to do the performance. So 221.9 tons. That's reasonably close enough. We're not going to change our weight much. We're landing flap 30. We've done our performance for that, 140 knots, and we set auto brake to 2. I'm also going to check the recall, make sure there's nothing hiding underneath that's broken. We've got 14 tons of fuel. That's a good amount. And what I want to do now is go to the checklists. That's what I'm doing. And just make sure there's no notes. If there was a notes box, it would mean that there's a failure behind, which is giving us something we need to know about for the descent. So there we go. So in terms of the brief, well, we've got it coded. It's pretty straightforward. There's no significant terrain around. Although there is, actually no, that's not true. There is terrain around. I think it's NZAA 7,100, 4,600. So we will stick to the restrictions provided by the chart, and that means coming in at 11,000 above at IPRAC, 7,000 above at upfares, and that will keep us safe from this terrain over here, which is down at 7,000 feet. And then into Odyssey, max 210 knots, 3,000. If we go to legs, Odyssey 210, 2,000 or above. That's good. And from Odyssey, which is pretty low down, gotta be careful here. It looks like it's a long way out. It's not really. We're going to join the India Hotel Whiskey ILS DME. Oh, actually, it is a fair way out. 12.1 miles. And does it read 0 at the threshold? Pretty close. Yep. So that means it's actually quite far out, 30 miles. So we can be actually well above that. So does it say max? Oh no, above 3,000 on that chart, above 2,000 on the ILS. Fine. So we'll probably be about 3,500 feet there. Make sure we're below 210, which you want to be for the inset anyway. So probably flat 5 minimum. Make the corner and then head down the ILS, and then we go. We talked about the terrain, 7,000 feet. Go around if we need it, 196. So we'll make a bit of a straight ahead. So the Charlie Hotel VOR, then a left turn into the outbound 181 mandatory 4,000 feet to Tosig 210 knots. Great. And away we go. Hopefully it won't come to that, and we'll just roll out onto the runway. Oh, minimums as well, 293 full lighting, which I think we have today. 293. Oh, I dislike setting this. Can't stand it. PMDG have done a very good job replicating it. It is exactly like this. That does tell me is it's basically near sea level, the airport, which is good. So that means we can adjust our mental model accordingly and expect the rad out to come alive at about 2,500 feet. What number are we going for? 293. 2. Come on. Oh, it's a nightmare, this. I wish you could just type it in like the Airbus. There we go, 293. Done. Yeah, hopefully though, we will land. Dougal McTavish, thank you so much for the $24.41 tip. Really appreciate it. Dougal says, just a very small thank you for the learning and fun we've had over the years. That's really kind, Dougal. Thank you so much. Thank you for supporting us. And Dougal's been with the channel since the very, very start. Oh, the first officer has arrived to say thank you as well. Hello. Of course, you all know that she doesn't actually say hello once I get her to the microphone. You gonna say hello? Hello? Just silence. Silence and pushing me away. But she is here. Yeah, thanks so much, Dougal. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you for supporting the channel. Very kind. First officer is on deck indeed. Right. Good. Right, anyway. That is that in. Plan is to land this way. That's the wrong airport. This is the one we want. And this way. There we go. And then roll up, vacate to the left, probably Alpha 6. And then back up to Terminal Park. Good. Right, top of descent coming up. So we've done our recall check, no notes, auto brakers at 2, landing data VREF 30 and 140, approach briefing completed, descent checks complete. Get rid of that. FNC message, reset MCP altitude because we're approaching top of descent. First altitude is going to be 11,000. Now, I'm setting 11,000. Really, I don't need to. The FMS is aware of the restrictions. What I could actually set is the platform altitude for that ILS. In real life, you wouldn't do that because air traffic control wouldn't clear you all the way down. But if air traffic control right now said to me, you're cleared for that star and descend via the procedure, then that means I'm going to follow it all the way down to this, 3,000 or above actually. So I'd put 3,000 in. So we can just do that. Now I'm going to leave it on standard while we fly past these flight levels, but that is an 11,000 foot. In fact, that's an 11,000 foot restriction. So yeah, because it's 130. So no, we can go to QNH now. Bit turbulent starting the descent. And the QNH is, it is a bit higher, 1017. So there we go. George Lumpkin says, very excited for the 350. Yes, me too. For replay, I use flight recorder, Valkyrie. Epaulets, you didn't miss anything, except the first officer has now joined us. Crash Ed, thanks so much for the £5 super chat, really appreciate it. Ed says, wow, nearly 5 years, been simming since the dawn of time. But there's no way I'd be where I am without this channel, loving the recent live streams. Thanks so much, Ed, really appreciate it. Ed's always been a big supporter of the channel. Great to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for supporting us. And yeah, I know it's been a long time, eh? Lots and lots of streams and flying around. Love it. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Dougal. Thank you, Ed. Those are really, really generous of you both. Thank you for supporting the channel. And thank you for, like I say supporting, but for being a part of it, being active, chatting along, flying along. I love it. It's great. Is that engine still wobbling around? This is the South Island scenery. Just fantastic. This is what flight simulator scenery is for. This is unthinkable a few years ago. So what have we got? We're in the descent. We've got bang on the vertical profile, which is good because in the 787 you'd immediately be high. Get to the FPV, and yeah, looking good. Laterally all spot on, as you would hope. How's the traffic in front of us doing? I didn't see the new Instagram of the 350. I did see they had liveries. They showed some liveries. True says, I have my first stuff on my lap too. Excellent. Bam says, how did you find switching between 7.7 and 7.8? I came from the A320 to the 7.8. That was my part. So I haven't flown the 777 in the real world. I am, like I say, type rated onto it, but I have not yet had the chance to fly it. I hope to, though. I do hope to. So I asked about these interesting RNAV approaches, and I am so sorry. I think I've missed the answers. They're quicker than the ILS, says SLO. I think that's the idea, to save a long trade in. Because of our routing, it's not going to make much difference, and because of our aeroplane, I think it's an ILS is realistically what you would do if you were in this position. But maybe I'll try one of those out offline. Vuti2, thanks so much for the £10 super chat. Vuti, very kind. Vuti also big part of the channel. Vuti says, what Dougal and Ed said, been an absolute blast, and I have also come a long way. Loved every minute. That's great, Vuti. Thank you for being a part of the channel. Thank you for coming along, and your enthusiasm and support. Absolutely brilliant. Really, really appreciate it. That's very kind of, and thank you for the super chat. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a long time. We've all been chatting about flight sim. A long time. This is nice efficient idle descent, just like you want over the mountains. Love it. I imagine this airplane in real life would spend a lot of its time cruising over the Pacific Ocean. Amazing to think about, really. But yeah, thanks so much, Ruti. Really kind. Meme says A380 don't operate ETOPS flights. Correct. That is correct. The A380 does not operate ETOPS because it's 4 engines. It doesn't need to be ETOPS. Sorry, that question was ages ago. I have seen the triple flight deck. I've not been on a jump seat on it, but I've seen the real one. And this is a great representation of it, no doubt about that. A little bit new, perhaps, but they are still building 777s, so you could be in a new one if you're so lucky. Igloo Food says the Bluebird 757 looks amazing and should be here soonish. Yes, I can't wait for the Igloo 757. Remember, my dream in aviation has been to get as close to the 757 as possible. It's sadly not going to happen in Europe. I won't get to fly one, but the 777 I think is the closest out there now. 767 is also gone, which was the closest. 747-400 gone, but that wasn't that similar. I think this style flight deck is about as similar as you get to the 75, 76. I mean, this is the next airplane, you know. And the 78 is essentially the same overhead panel. They just made it grey. But yeah, I'd love to fly a triple in the brown, because that's what I always saw when I was going on holiday, looking into the flight deck. Ebo says, I remember the 350 flights to Australia 4 years back. Crazy how time flies like a 7.8. Indeed, yeah, indeed. 4 years, yeah. That was a big day. I still remember that. That was a great day where I streamed the whole day. We did 12-hour flight down to the Maldives. Yeah, that was great. I remember that approach and landing. Fantastic fun. Thank you again for all those super chats. It's really appreciated. Oh well, and I can react properly in YouTube. Virgil likes the brown Boeing cockpits. Yeah, there's certainly a taste, but there is something nostalgic about them. Fujisu says, what I failed to mention is that you're also responsible for me spending hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, worth every penny. I'm glad you enjoy it. Yes, I know. I do realise that this is sort of a continuous advertisement for spending money in Flight Simulator. Yeah. But I like to think we provide people as well the ability to use the free aeroplanes, or I say free, nothing's free, the default aeroplanes, so they don't have to go and buy the expensive ones. But I do enjoy flying these add-ons to fly something different. Sayed, it's going well. I hope you're doing well. Glad you enjoy the videos. Thanks for coming along. Mike says the 777 flight deck is awesome. Did my last flight on one and it's superb aeroplane. Excellent. Yeah, that's cool. Now it's a lot of pilots refer to this as a, I don't want to say tractor, but maybe a truck. What they mean is that they talk about it in the sense that it's just sort of, it just works, it keeps going, it's not as fiddly or fussy. So our friend in chat earlier, Jay, was saying about J-Lux was saying that the 787 having extra maintenance required because of the electronics. So that extra complexity is obviously, going to change things. And I think the 777 is considered to be more, I don't want to say robust. I hope you understand what I mean. I think it's a perception by the pilots. So the pilots who fly 777 think of it like that. Whether it's true or not is a different matter, but the important thing is if the pilots feel like that about the airplane, then that's a good sign that it is a generally reliable and crucially dispatchable airplane. Now this is interesting. It's overspeeding quite significantly. Now I know why. I was fiddling with the thrust levers and it went into hold mode and drove them forwards. So I'm just going to help it out with a bit of speed brake. There we go. Ed says, I've said it before and I'll say it again, we're living the dream when it comes to simming these days. It's awesome. Long may it continue. Agreed, Ed. Agreed. Michael says, divert to NZQN. I wanted to fly into NZQN, but I wanted to fly the triple more. So yeah, didn't happen. Couldn't fit it into Queenstown. I did look. Jada says, Mark, Frodo wished he could just fly in on Air New Zealand. Indeed. Yeah. Tom Nichols, thanks so much. Tom says, made it back from bathing my future first officer just in time for landing. Thanks for another great stream. You're very welcome, Tom. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for supporting the channel. I'll just replay that one. I do apologise for missing it. Yeah, excellent. I hope your family's doing well, Tom, and thanks so much for coming along and joining us today and supporting the channel. It's really, again, really appreciated. Very kind. Very generous of everyone today. Croson Moon, good to see you. Croson Moon says greetings. Hope all is well. All is well here. Hope all well for you, Croson Moon. Thanks for joining us. Richard V, good to see you. We did say we said hi to Richard earlier. It's great. These are names from early days of the channel. Great to have you here. Wes I says, what does hydraulic oil taste like, Captain? I don't know. I don't want to know. Thank you. Yeah, not good. Right, 10,000 feet. Landing lights going on. Nose light won't do anything. It's not actually in the procedures to do it, I don't think. Certainly on the 7.8 you wouldn't bother. I don't know what it's there for, but yeah, we don't actually need that. I do turn it on anyway at night, but there we go. Don't need the runway turn off or taxi yet, but we will put the seatbelt signs on. Seatbelts on. Now, things that we don't need to do, which is nice, is I don't believe in the 777 we're going to need to tune the ILS or put the course bar in, which is great. And we don't need to press LS because it knows I'm flying an ILS. That is something I think the Airbus should do. It's a weird feature of the 320 to have that LS button that means that you need to turn it on if you want to fly an ILS, and if you want to fly an RNAV, you must make sure you don't have it on. And it's I think a bit silly. Why not? You know, it knows I'm flying an ILS. Why not have it there? Boeing seems to have solved that one. So there are things I do prefer about the Boeing. They are in there. I do have to look for them, but they are there. Right, round the turn, 7,000 feet above at up fares. It's easily going to make that, and it's decelerated nicely. It's doing a nice job here. Not far from landing. Time to get the replay tool loaded. I think I can close that checklist out. I'm going to use the inbuilt ones now. Yeah, Grossman says, good to see the old lads here. Andy, Richard, Doug. Yeah, it's been yeah, we were saying earlier, it's coming up to 5 years. Absolutely mad. I'm going to use Flight Recorder. I still use Flight Recorder. I think it works great, and I think it works just as well as the built-in one in 2024. Now we're going to get a bit of flexing on those wings. Stunning scenery. How reliable is the 787 VNAV? It is it's reliable. There's cabin ready, that's good. It's reliable, but it often gets high. Almost immediately it gets high, so you have to use the speed brakes almost every descent. Hebo says, oh, this flight deck has the optional button to annoy the first officer installed with the pen. Yeah, it does, yeah. Yeah, I do like that. Right, 7,000 feet up. I did see above 3. Got 2 in there, 6,000 and 210. It goes in magenta for the restrictions it's currently obeying, so there we go. Oh, sorry, the next restriction it's going to obey, so it's going to do 6,000 above and 210 on the speed. But before we get there, I said I wanted to pass that point, which is in 10 miles, flat 5. So to do that, we're going to have to intervene on the speed. So we'll click open the speed window, and we'll come back to the up speed. Risk here is that we'll end up getting high off the profile, so it's in speed VNAV path. So now, what it's going to do is just keep flying that profile. So I'm going to need to use the speed brakes now to slow it down. Now the speed brakes are very effective on the 787. They're excellent. They are very powerful. They make the 320 ones look a little bit underpowered. I believe it's the same on the 777. Let's go flaps 1. And now I can wind the speed back. Unlike the Airbus, you can't put the speed below. You only do it once you've got the flaps already moving. And I said flaps 5 for that first turn, so we'll go flap 5, please. 180 knots. So there we go. We'll be well comfortably below the 210. That's worked out nicely. 5,000 feet. Looking good. Got the ILS diamond there, so we are slightly above it, which is about where I expect to be at this point. Richard V says, it really doesn't feel like 5 years ago. I can still remember that first live stream. I can remember that first live stream. I was in the same room, but I was facing the other direction. I didn't have my computer. I was running off the laptop, and I remember how nervous I was. That was a short flight too. Similar length to this, I think. But yeah, I do remember being nervous. Oh dear. And I had a big gap in live streams this year. The longest gap I've ever had, actually. So I was pretty nervous the last one I did. Right, 180 knots. I don't think we need to go any slower at this point, so we'll hold it here. Bit of flaps out. Hayden says, working out in the gym with you on an iPad. Excellent. Glad to hear it, Hayden. Being very healthy. I, as a counterpoint to that, had a mince pie and have sat down for the last however many hours. So you're doing the right thing. Right, ILS is now identified. India Hotel Whiskey, 196 course, 13 miles out. Excellent. Now you'll see that we're spot on profile here, so we need to get this just right. Richard remembers May 2020, Frankfurt to Amsterdam. That was it. In a retro livery, wasn't it? One of the retro style liveries, I think it was. Next plane 11. And he says, back then I was something like subscriber number 22 on here. Met some good friends and started a VA thanks to this channel. It's a special place. That's great. I love it, Andy. Thanks, sir. Yeah, you put the effort in and made this hobby so enjoyable for yourself, which is great. Yeah, I will fly on Down Air Virtual. I need to see which airplanes have the liveries. Could do the 146 again, couldn't we? Right, we're coming around the turn. It's all identified. Take the localizer first. Lock. That's worked. We're on the localizer. So we're on the approach. You've got to do them separately, unlike the A320, because if you don't have a modified 777, it could do the glide slope before the localizer. However, that is an option, and the PMDG actually you can get rid of that. There we go, 180 knots. We've got a good headwind. Currently 11 miles out. So I think we can sit here for a little bit. I'm going to start recording. On the machine. Now my first officer is going to have to move because the yoke does get in the way. Bouncing around, turbulent. I should probably announce this on Unicom as well. Christchurch traffic, New Zealand 543, ILS runway 20, 9 miles from touchdown. And it says the RJ is out now. Fancy crossair into London City. Yes. Yes, we could do the RJ in Down Air. Or crossair, yeah. I need to go and check out which airlines you have functioning there. Right. Going altitude, 4,000. Red-out will come alive any second. We're getting a bit fast here, so let's go flap 15. Does it have 15?
2,500.
Yes, 15. And we'll lower the gear. Gear down. Speed back to the 15 speed. Sorry, first officer. Sit on the sofa very shortly. Pedals with you sat there. There we go. And we'll go flaps 20. Speed back 25. 30. There we go. Right, that is the landing speed. We'll run the landing. Oh, we need to arm the speed brakes. Landing checklists. Oh, we've done the approach checklists and landing checklist. Landing checklist complete. Right, forward view. Let the airplane spool up the engines. Awesome. See how that aileron has popped up? This is correct. This is the landing attitude modifier. This comes from this being a second generation 777. 787 has the same system. What it does is it means that whatever flap setting and speed you happen to be flying the approach at. Oh, that's not much good. Whatever flap setting or speed you're flying the approach at, it will still have the same pitch attitude and therefore should be the same sensation for the pilots. Oh, a Comet coming to Microsoft Flight Simulator. That would be fantastic. So this was my first ever jet flight was with Down Air. Comet 4. Fantastic. Traffic in front just vacating. Look at that. We've joined each other right at the same time. That's awesome.
Traffic.
It's giving us a traffic. Off scale. I don't know where they are. Ah, it's just them on the runway. But it shouldn't do that because it should be inhibited now. Right, time to disconnect the autopilot. Which button do I have that assigned to? That one. And that's off. And we don't need to disconnect the auto throttle, thankfully, on the 777, because it is automatically done. It's trimmed for the right speed. It is now sinking low though, so we'll just get it back onto profile. There we go.
300. Approaching minimums. 200.
Those pappies are in an odd place.
100.
Really revving up.
50. 30.
30 flare.
20.
Just a little bit. Come on, down we go. That's it. I'll reverse. Nose down. One of the nicest landing airplanes out there, the 777. And I say that having never landed it, but I've sat in the back of it quite a few times, and it's fantastic. The gear is so well designed. And I say it like that. I say it's good because the 787-10 uses a similar gear system, and what it is there's, we'll talk about it on the way taxi in, but there's let's just get rid of the auto brake there. Come on, auto brake, out you go. There we go. Yeah, there's a hydraulic sort of aspect to it that dampens the landing. So the first gear touches down, and then there's it dampens out the rest. We'll talk about that during the replay. But there, welcome to Christchurch. Fantastic! What a lovely machine. Really enjoyed that. Really great. Just so pretty, so nice to fly, so nice. Even with that slightly odd-looking last visual picture. George Lumpkin says, "Didn't spill a drop of my rum and coke." Excellent, excellent. So we will vacate to the left here. Oh, this scenery is not quite as nice as our earlier one. Get speed below 10 for a tight turn like that. Then round we go. Remember taking it nice and wide. It's a big machine to get around the turn.
Christchurch traffic, United 2, those crossing runway 29.
Awesome. And yeah, see that aileron's still up in the landing position. So it does all these funny things that you wouldn't expect it to do, but it's very clever. Oh, that's the drone view. There we go. This airplane pretty much doesn't fit on this taxiway. Right. Yeah, thank you all so much for coming along. If you have enjoyed, do please leave a like. It makes a big difference. And certainly follow on Twitch if you'd like to see the next stream or get notified of it. Right, taxiing in then. Should we do the after landing? I think we will. Let's do the after landing for once. So we're going to cross another runway, but for now we can take the main lights off, put the taxi lights on, strobe lights off. We don't need any anti-ice, so we've done the ice, the lights, the weather radar we didn't use, auto brake. Flaps would then come up, but I'm going to leave those out for the replay, and the transponder can go to transponder. And then you'd go to checklists, and it would be the... Oh, there's no after landing checklist in this one. No, next is the shutdown. Fine. So yeah, that is the after landing flow in the 777. And then as you get close to stand, you would start up the APU. So which runway are we crossing? (29). Christchurch traffic, New Zealand 543, crossing runway 29. Oh, we're not there yet, I don't think. There we are. It's just showing us a taxiway here. Ebos, thank you so much. Ebos, I'm so sorry I missed that. Ebos, thank you for the 777 tip. Excellent. Thanks so much, Ebos. Ebos says, have an enjoyable stay in Tolkien's homeland, guys. Time to hit the beach. Excellent. Oh, enjoy the beach, Ebos, and thank you so much for coming along, and thank you for supporting the channel. That's fantastic. Oh, there is a runway. There we go. Yeah, that's very, very kind. Thank you. And enjoy the beach. What am I doing here? I'm getting confused now. There we go. Right. They can go away. And see how that also puts the inboard aileron down. Yeah, excellent. Great detailing. Just going to arm those ready for the replay. Then you would start up the APU about now as you get close. It's quite slow to start up the APU on these long haul Boeings. Sorry, Fortney, you did just miss the landing. George says, dinner time, sweet potato and chickpea curry tonight. Sounds lovely. Thanks for the great stream, Captain. Catch you on the next one. Night or night, George. Thanks for coming along. GD says, hopefully in the next few months we will be able to share our cockpits. We'll make long haul flights very enjoyable. Yeah, that'd be really cool. Really cool. Now, where are we going to fit this? Let's park. We'll park next to our 777 colleague over there. Is the BA plane still here? BA colleague. Can't see them. No, I don't think we're going to fit on that stand, are we? Oh, their speed brakes are up. This model matching is very good. Richard V says, thanks for a great stream, Captain. It's been lovely to catch up with some old friends. Stay safe on. Stay safe, Richard V. Thank you so much for coming along. Now we would turn the lights off. I don't think that's going to work. Oh, we might get pretty close. Being aware of those big engines. I can tell you as well, parking these long-haul airplanes is a much more interesting experience than the short-haul. You do end up in this sort of situation where you're thinking, are we really going to fit? And as you can see here, we are not. Big machines. Big machines indeed. Right. That's it then. We'll stop there. Thank you so much to our colleagues for flying along with us on VATSIM. I'm going to disconnect from VATSIM. And then I'm going to go to the replay.
2500.
Alright, let's have a look. How did this go? This felt fine to me. I was pretty happy with it. We had a relatively stable final approach, which was good considering the view was so obscure with the pappies up there halfway up the runway. What's clicking? Oh, I don't like hearing things click when we're replaying. It suggests that something's going on. Oh, the taxi switch, funnily enough. Of all things to be complaining. So yeah, pretty stable. It felt pretty sporty. The plane was certainly rocking and rolling a little bit. In we came, 50 feet over the threshold, felt fine. And this here, let me just pause it, just in the flare there. So this landing gear here is connected by a hydraulic arm, and that dampens it. So as that rear wheel touches down, then instead of just crashing to the ground, it's dampened and it sits nicely. Same on takeoff, that arm pushes the airplane up into the air. And the 787-10 uses the same system. It's great for long aeroplanes. But it means that landing the 787-10 is it's easier to get a smooth feeling touchdown. It's irrelevant to the actual landing performance, to the quality of the landing. You know, it's just the smooth sensation. But you get that sensation much more easily on the 777 because they have this on all of the 300s, and I think the 200 as well. Whereas the 787 is only on the -10. On the 787 8s and 9s, the gear is just sort of free swinging, and it can cause it to give it a bit of a thump by comparison. Even if the landing in all other aspects, including the same sink rate and so on, was all spot on. So yeah. Dara Demley, thanks so much for the €5 super chat. Really appreciate it, though. That's very kind. Dara says, looking forward to the Airbus A320. I certainly am. I certainly am. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. So here we go. Let's see the touchdown. This all felt fine to me. But again, like I say, 777 is just great. Look at that. That's just lovely. PMDG have done a good job there of modelling that, because those wheels, that animates just right, doesn't it? Yes, love it. Love to see it. And that's good considering, you know, there isn't even a proper replay tool, so at least we can enjoy it with the third-party one. Thank you for watching along on Twitch as well. Here we go. Yeah. that was nice. Bit of a float, but not helped by having absolutely no vertical guidance. The Pappy's in the wrong place just to confuse us, and a slightly misdrawn runway, I think. But there we go. And look at that stabilizer shaking. That's cool. Love it. So, I timed this wrong last time. Where are we? Oh, that's too high. That's too far out. Let's put it there. And let's say thank you all so much for joining us on today's flight. Let me put that to arm. And we'll have a nice interior replay. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us for today's stream. It's been absolutely fantastic. Really, really appreciate having everyone come along. Thank you so much for those of you who's very, very kindly super chatted and supported the channel. Really appreciate that. Thank you to those chatting along. Thank you for everyone just watching along. Really appreciate it as well. Do please leave a like on the way out. Really, really kind if you have enjoyed the stream. Available on Twitch and YouTube as ever, so feel free to watch on either platform you like. We'll be back with more videos, guys, live stream soon. Again, thank you for the super chats and donations. Thank you for watching. Thank you for chatting. Thank you especially, of course, to the moderators for looking out for us all. And yeah, thank you to everyone. Keep safe and well. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening or day as it is wherever you are in the world, and we'll see you again in another live stream or video soon. Thank you. Bye bye.